Chapter 1545. In the past, I deliberately kept him in suspense and never wrote this book down for him. Now, this can be considered my parting gift to him. Only compared to the deep kindness my master has shown me, this gift is just too small. She gave a faint sigh. Mo Chuan comforted her. Silly girl, your master treats you well and doesn't ask for any repayment from you. As long as you learn medicine and bring glory to his title as the #1 divine doctor in the world, don't lose his face. This is the best repayment to him. Qin Ning couldn't help smiling as she said, I never thought that you would be my master's friend. That's right, my master also said the same thing. Mo Chuan said with a faint smile, I'll have Zhui Feng escort you. Has Zhui Feng's injuries healed? He has just suffered such a serious injury, let him rest in the palace. His injuries are no longer a problem. The reason he was able to recover so quickly is all thanks to the elixir your master gave him. A person who receives kindness from others should be repaid with gushes of spring water. I believe he also wants to personally thank your master. Mo Chuan called Zhui Feng over and had him escort Qin Ning to send Gu Qingze off. As expected, Zhui Feng happily accepted the order. Qin Ning packed up and brought the medical book to Dr. Zhang's palace. It was only around 8 or 9 in the morning right now. She entered the palace and went straight to the back courtyard. She saw that Gu Qingze's room was tightly closed and she couldn't help smiling at Zhui Feng. My master is becoming lazier and lazier, he still hasn't gotten up at this time. Let's wait for him here and not wake him up. Zhui Feng nodded and stood behind Qin Ning. He looked at the room with a look of gratitude in his eyes. Zhui Feng, are your injuries healed? Qin Ning asked in a concerned voice. Reporting to the Empress, it's fine. It's all thanks to the elixir the divine doctor gave me. This subordinate is filled with gratitude towards the divine Dr. Gu. Zhui Feng replied in a simple manner. Qin Ning said with a smile, it won't be too late to thank my master after you see him. Zhui Feng hesitated a bit, wanting to say something. What do you want to say? Empress, this subordinate has a request that I would like to ask the Empress to agree to. Zhui Feng suddenly bowed to her. Qin Ning's eyes sparkled and she guessed, you want to send my master off, right? That's right. Zhui Feng replied in a deep voice. Good, it's rare for you to have such intentions, so I will naturally agree. I was originally worried about my master's safety along the way, so it's great that you volunteered. She nodded with a smile. The two of them waited in the courtyard. They waited from sunrise all the way until the sun was over their heads, but they still didn't see Gu Qingze get up and open the door. Qin Ning looked up at the sun above her head and said in a doubtful voice, Why hasn't my master woken up yet? Did something happen to him? Zhui Feng was also worried. He held his breath and listened to the sounds in the room. After a while, he suddenly said, Empress, there doesn't seem to be anyone in the room. No one. Go. Qin Ning's heart jumped into her throat. She didn't care if she would wake Gu Qingze up as she slammed the door and shouted, Master, master. The door was locked from the inside and she couldn't open it. She called out several times but the room was still silent. She bit her lips. Zhui Feng, open the door and take a look. I'm worried that something has happened to master. Chapter 1546. Zhui Feng took a step forward and placed his right palm on the door. With a bit of internal energy, the latch on the inside broke. Opening the door and seeing the scene in the room, Qin Ning and Zhui Feng were both stunned. They originally thought that Gu Qingze must have gotten into an accident, but all the furnishings in the room were fine, spotless, and not a single speck of dust could be seen. The bedding on the bed was neatly folded, but Gu Qingze was missing. This is bad. Something must have happened to the divine Dr. Gu. This subordinate will immediately go investigate. Zhui Feng's first reaction was to charge out the door. No need, Zhui Feng, there's no need to go. My master is fine. Qin Ning gave a faint sigh and her eyes fell onto a letter on the table. She walked over and opened it only to see 2 words written on it, take care. It was Gu Qingze's handwriting. She stared at those 2 words in a daze. Her heart was sour, warm and sweet, but she couldn't say anything for a while. Empress, you said that the divine doctor is fine? Zhui Feng asked in a suspicious voice. His eyes swept over and seeing the letter in her hand, he was instantly enlightened. So the divine doctor has already left? Qin Ning slowly nodded and her expression was filled with an indescribable melancholy. That's right, my master has left. He actually left without saying goodbye. I said I would send him off, but he didn't wait for me before leaving. He must be angry with me so he doesn't want to see me. She bit her lips and her throat felt choked up, not being able to continue. Tears began to fall from her eyes and her heart was filled with an indescribable sadness. Zhui Feng also had a look of disappointment on his face. Seeing Qin Ning's sad appearance, his heart was not any better than hers. He had received a great favor from the divine doctor, but he did not have time to repay him. His benefactor had left just like this, not even being able to fulfill his wish of sending her off. Empress, although the divine doctor has left, he shouldn't have gone too far. This subordinate will definitely be able to catch up to him. Chase? Qin Ning raised her head and looked around the empty room. She shook her head. There's no need to chase after him. My master left early in the morning just to avoid me. Since he doesn't want to see me, what can I do even if I chase after him? I'm afraid I'll only make him angry. Zhui Feng hesitated before saying, if the divine Dr. Gu is angry with the Empress, this subordinate has not offended him. This subordinate wants the Empress to allow this subordinate to send him off. You're going? Qin Ning's eyes lit up and she nodded slightly. Not bad. With your skills, you will definitely be able to catch up to my master very quickly. Alright, since that's the case, help me send my master off. Bring this along too and help me pass it to my master. Remember to tell him that once I'm done with my matters, I'll go to the Miracle Physician Valley to look for him. She placed the medical book in Zhui Feng's hands. Zhui Feng solemnly put it away and said, this subordinate will go. He flew up and landed on the roof. With a few leaps, his figure disappeared. Qin Ning stood in the yard and watched as Zhui Feng disappeared in front of her. Thinking of Gu Qingze leaving like this, her heart was filled with melancholy. Empress. Empress. She turned around and saw Dr. Zhang walking into the yard. He was holding a bag in his hand as he respectfully bowed to her. Chapter 1547. Divine Dr. Gu he left? Dr. Zhang was shocked as he quickly looked at the room Gu Qingze was in. He saw that the door was wide open and there was no one inside. His mouth fell open as he revealed a look of shock. Qin Ning gave a faint sigh and said, so Dr. Zhang didn't know that my master had left. I came here early in the morning, but he had already left and I didn't even have time to send him off. Dr. Zhang was stunned for a while before coming back to his senses. He had a look of disappointment on his face. AI, it's all this minister's fault. I didn't receive you well and offended the divine Dr. Gu, so he left without saying goodbye. I hope the Empress can forgive him. Dr. Zhang, this matter has nothing to do with you, so what crime have you committed? My master he's just not willing to see me. Qin Ning said in a low voice. Thinking of how she had promised Gu Qingze to go to the Godly Physician Valley with him, but she had gone back on her word at the last moment, it was no wonder he was angry. If it was her, she would also be very unhappy. Dr. Zhang shook his head and had a look of disapproval. What is the Empress saying? How could the divine Dr. Gu not be willing to see the Empress? You are his beloved disciple. This minister really envies the Empress for being able to have the old divine Dr. Gu as a master. Especially the love he has for the Empress. This minister is very touched. He gave the bag in his hand to Qin Ning with both hands. The divine Dr. Gu came to this old minister last night and told this old minister to give the things in this bag to the Empress. He also told this old minister to pay attention to the Empress' body. This old minister has seen all of this and the divine Dr. Gu is not angry at the Empress or against the Empress' care. Qin Ning looked at the bag and said in a surprised voice, my master had someone give this to me? That's right. Qin Ning took it and looked at the coarse linen bag. It was made of the same material as the robes Gu Qingze usually wore. Her heart suddenly skipped a beat and she said in a soft voice, so my master came to find you last night and he had you leave something for me. She gently opened the bag and saw that there were 2 handwritten books inside. The paper was brand new and the ink was fresh. It was clear that it had been written not long ago and she couldn't help giving an ah sound. One of the books had Internal Classics written on it and the other book had Pulse Classics written on it. After Dr. Zhang saw it, his eyes lit up with envy and he said with a sigh, the divine Dr. Gu is truly attentive to the Empress, leaving 2 medical books for the Empress before he left. These 2 books must have been written by the divine Dr. Gu's life. If this old minister could read them, I would be willing to die. Qin Ning held the medical book in her hand and flipped it open. She saw that each page was filled with neat handwriting, with the content being the most basic knowledge of Chinese medicine. The Meridian Manual was the easiest to understand, but it was written in detail. There were also many medical examples as evidence. Yang Qin Dr. Ming. He Yun Qin of Zhang, Qin, Yang, Dr. Yun Yang was Xin Yang, Yang Qin Wang of Wang Yang and was Yang of Yang He Qin of Gu of Long of Gu of Yi He Dr. He. Dr. Zhang was filled with joy. When he took the medical book, His hands slightly trembled as he was incomparably excited. With a pious heart, he slowly opened the first page of the Pulse Classic. However, after reading a few lines, he couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 1548. Dr. Zhang was a bit disappointed. He never thought that the contents of Gu Qing's medical book would be this normal. He had learned this knowledge of meridians when he was 7 or 8 years old, but after looking at it a few more times, his eyes lit up and he couldn't help reading it again. Empress, the ancient divine doctor's knowledge is truly as deep as the sea. This old minister has received pointers from the Mongolian divine doctor and has benefited quite a bit. Although the principles written in this book are simple, the ancient divine doctor is very meticulous, being able to find his own ideas from the small details. Just this Pulse Classic can be said to be the most suitable medical book in the world. Even if this old minister is reading it now, I can still learn quite a bit from it. He closed the medical book and respectfully handed it back to Qinning with both hands. Qinning received it and stroked the smooth pages. Smelling the faint fragrance of the ink, she secretly vowed that she would thoroughly study these 2 books and build a good foundation for her medical skills. Only then would she live up to her master's hopes and efforts. She held the 2 medical books that Gu Qingze left for her and went back to the palace. She saw Mo Chuan and told him about Gu Qingze leaving without saying goodbye. She also told him that Zhui Feng had chased after Gu Qingze and was secretly protecting him, so it would be a few days before he could return to the palace. Mo Chuan nodded and took the medical books from her hands to look at them. He saw that the words were very clear and it was clear that these 2 books were written by Gu Qingze overnight. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Ning, your master is truly considerate of you. After this battle is over, I will personally send you to the godly Dr. Valley. Qin Ning said with a faint smile, you finally know how good my master is. Mo Chuan couldn't help snorting and pretending to be angry as he said, when did I say that he was bad? Qin Ning smiled. She remembered that when she first became Gu Qingze's disciple, Mo Chuan had been jealous of Gu Qingze. Of course she was smart enough not to mention it at this time. Mo Chuan, you haven't slept all night and your eyes are completely red. Even if you want to study military books, you don't need to be in a rush. If you tire your body and Chu Xiaoyang really leads an army to attack, how will you face the enemy? Mo Chuan's face turned serious as he said, these 2 military books you wrote have greatly benefited me. Reading this book is better than reading 100 books Chu Xiaoyang has read. If I have more time, my chances of winning will be even higher. I have already sent people to the South Yu border and have increased the number of troops in the Southern Pass and Shuanglu cities, just in case Chu Xiaoyang suddenly attacks. Southern Pass and Shuanglu? That's right. Look, this is the border between our West Chu and South Yu. Chapter 1549. Qin Ning thought about it and said, since these 2 cities are this important, have you sent any generals? Mo Chuan shook his head and said, I told you yesterday that I don't have any generals I can use. The generals of these 2 cities were originally stationed in these cities. Although the South Yu Kingdom has been eyeing our West Chu for 10 years, they have never attacked us. I'm worried that they will slack off, so I've already sent people to remind them to be on guard against a sneak attack from the South Yu Kingdom. Only the capital is from the Southern Pass and Shuanglu Kingdom. Even if they send a report on horseback, it will take 5 days. I don't know if they will make it in time. What, it will take 5 days? Qin Ning couldn't help taking in a cold breath. She pointed at a pass on the map and said, didn't you say last time that Chu Xiaoyang might attack from this mountain road? Would he abandon this road and attack the Southern Pass and Shuanglu Kingdom instead? Mo Chuan said, that's right, if he wants to launch a sneak attack, he can use this road to enter our West Chu territory. Moreover, there are very few people who know about this road. They have horses that are good at crossing mountains, so this road is the most suitable. However, this mountain road has a fatal weakness. Look here. He pointed at a place on the map. Qin Ning looked at it and said, this shape looks like a gourd. That's right, this place is called the gourd's mouth because it is shaped like a gourd. Last time I said that there are several mountain roads that lead to my West Chu's hinterland, but they all lead to the same destination. No matter which mountain road they take, they will eventually pass through this gourd's mouth. As long as I can set up an ambush near the gourd's mouth, I can defeat them. Since Chu Xiaoyang is familiar with military books and the terrain here, he won't make this kind of mistake. Unless he doesn't put me in his eyes at all, he would choose this path. But to be safe, I have already sent people to set up an ambush here. If Chu Xiaoyang doesn't come, then it's fine, but if he really wants to attack me from the gourd's mouth, then I'll make him suffer. His right hand formed a fist and he slammed it on the map, speaking in a powerful voice. Chen Ning couldn't help looking up and looking at Mo Chuan with a strange gaze. Why are you looking at me like this? Mo Chuan was a bit surprised. Mo Chuan, you've only studied military books for a night, but you've already learned this much. I really admire you. Mo Chuan revealed a faint smile and stroked her hair. I've only learned a few things in the military books and there are many strategies in there, but I haven't thought about how to use them yet. I've learned a few things in there. Chuan are the key to opening my West Chu territory. As long as he controls the southern pass and Lu, the South Yu will can enter and my West Chu will be. He paused before saying, so other than this gourd mouth, the southern pass and Shuanglu cities are Chu Xiaoyang's other choices. These two cities are the keys to my West Chu, and as long as he occupies the southern pass and Shuanglu, the South Yu army will be able to enter and my West Chu will be in danger. In this way the southern pass and Shuanglu cities are of utmost importance, and they can't be lost no matter what, right? Since it's like this, you should send a capable general to defend the city. If the court really doesn't have a general, I'm willing to recommend myself. Chen Ning said after thinking about it. Chapter 1550. Chen Ning had mentioned this to him yesterday, but he had only treated it as a joke and laughed it off. Now that she mentioned it again, he still did not take it to heart. Even if there was no one else he could use in the court, he would not send his wife out to lead troops. Not to mention that not only did she not know martial arts, she did not know how to lead troops at all. Chen Ning seriously looked at him and said, Mo Chuan, I'm not speaking nonsense, I'm being very serious. She was not just casually saying this, rather she had considered it for a long time. Chu Xiaoyang defecting to the enemy was all because of her, and this disaster was because of her, so she had the responsibility to solve it. Although she did not know how to lead troops into battle, she would think of a way to convince Chu Xiaoyang to retreat. She could not let Chu Xiaoyang cause a calamity because of her, let the citizens suffer from the chaos of war, let the soldiers break up, and let their blood fall on the battlefield. Alright, you're being very serious. Then I'll also be very serious, you can't do this. Mo Chuan seriously replied. Why can't I? Are you looking down on me because I'm a woman? When did I look down on you because you're a woman? You're smart and have a photographic memory, this intelligence is something that even 10 men cannot compare to. If it wasn't for you bravely stepping forward and solving the problem that East Qin gave to my West Chu, it would be unknown how hard the citizens' lives would be. When mentioning this matter, who wouldn't admire you? But leading troops into battle is different from reading tablets on horseback. As a general, not only do you need to read the art of war, you also need to look at the overall situation. If you're the slightest bit careless, the soldiers will fall into an unrecoverable situation. This is not something that can be done just by being smart. After I read these two books, I felt that the depth of the art of war is something that I cannot comprehend. Although you've memorized these two books, you don't know how to use them, so how can I let you lead troops into battle? You can't mention this matter again. If you say this again, I'll immediately send someone to send you to the Miracle Doctor Valley. Mo Chuan's expression was very serious. He knew that if he said anything, she would take advantage of his soft heart and pester him. At that time, he did not know if he could harden his heart and reject her request. Chen Ning rolled her eyes and pouted as she said, I was just casually saying it, but you treated it so seriously. How could I lead troops into battle? I just wanted to make you smile, but you're being this serious. You really can't take a joke. Mo Chuan finally revealed a faint smile. Are you joking? I can see that you're very serious, so you just need to put your heart in your stomach. Even if there is a war, as long as I'm here, even if the sky falls, I'll hold it up. As for this war, although there are no generals in the court, what you said yesterday was correct, I am a general myself. As long as I learn the art of war, why would I fear a Chu Xiaoyang? I've never led troops into battle before, so when Chu Xiaoyang has led troops before. Even if he has experienced South Yu generals by his side to assist him, with his obstinate and self-opinionated personality, he will not listen to the opinions of others. Let's just wait and see. Chen Ning. Chen Ning saw that he had a worried look on his face yesterday, but today he was filled with energy. She knew that he must have learned something from these two military books, so she couldn't help revealing a faint smile. That's right. Chapter 1551. Mo Chuan, what's wrong? Chen Ning followed his gaze. Someone's coming. Mo Chuan's hearing was very far, so he had already heard the sound of hurried footsteps coming from the palace. As expected, not long after, he heard a sharp voice from outside the door. With the Empress Dowager's orders, I summon the Emperor to the Peaceful Life Palace. Mother is looking for me? Mo Chuan knit his brows. His first thought was that Empress Dowager Zhou wouldn't be forcing him to marry Zhao Rong again, right? But then he thought of something else. Definitely not. At this moment, Empress Dowager Zhou should already know about Zhao Rong's scandal in the Inqing Palace, so she definitely wouldn't force him. If it wasn't for Zhao Rong, then it had to be for Chu Xiaoyang. This was another matter that gave him a headache. Once Empress Dowager Zhou knew that Chu Xiaoyang had defected to South Yu with the map and that he would bring troops to attack West Chu, Empress Dowager Zhou would be filled with rage and she would put this black pot on Chen Ning's head. But since Empress Dowager Zhou summoned him, he couldn't hide it. Not to mention that in this palace, there were no walls that didn't have ears. Once Chu Xiaoyang really brought troops here, the entire world would be shocked and this matter would reach Empress Dowager Zhou's ears sooner or later. Rather than letting Empress Dowager Zhou be shocked and angry, it was better for him to report to Empress Dowager Zhou first. This way, Empress Dowager Zhou wouldn't be worried. Ning, wait for me here. I'm going to see Mother. Chen Ning nodded and opened the medical book Gu Qingze left behind. With a calm smile she said, I'll wait here for you to come back. Seeing her calm smile, Mo Chuan's heart became even more confident. He was willing to pay anything to protect her from harm, letting her always have this kind of smile on her face. He followed the eunuch to the Peaceful Life Palace. When he left, he also placed the 2 military books that Chen Ning had written in his sleeves. When he arrived at the Peaceful Life Palace, Empress Dowager Zhou had just sent out dinner. Seeing Mo Chuan enter the palace, Empress Dowager Zhou greeted him with a smile. Emperor, you've come at the right time. This widow has specially ordered the royal kitchen to prepare some of your favorite dishes, so you can eat in this widow's palace. Mo Chuan saw that Empress Dowager Zhou's complexion was good. Her face was rosy and her eyes were filled with energy. He knew that this was all thanks to Gu Qingze's medicine. Good. The food in Mother's palace is excellent. Every time I come to Peaceful Life Palace to eat, I will eat 2 more bowls. He sat down with a smile and said to Empress Dowager Zhou with a faint smile, Has Mother been well these past 2 days? Is there anything wrong? Empress Dowager Zhou personally picked up a dish for him and said with a smile, This widow has been sleeping very well these past 2 days, falling asleep as soon as my head touched the pillow. Does Mother still feel a headache? Mo Chuan asked in a concerned voice. He knew that Empress Dowager Zhou's headache was an old problem. As long as she was in a bad mood or excited mood, she would have a splitting headache. This problem had followed Empress Dowager Zhou for over 20 years. Since he was young, he often saw Su Jin massage Empress Dowager Zhou's forehead. Now that you mention it, it's quite strange. This old illness hasn't acted up in the past few days. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. Empress Dowager Zhou looked at Su Jin serving on the side and asked, Do you remember how long it's been since this widow has had this problem? Chapter 1552. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a slight nod. That's right, that's right. Speaking of this widow, I really need to thank that ancient divine doctor. Emperor, summon him to the palace tomorrow, this widow will reward him generously. Mo Chuan replied, Mother, that ancient divine doctor left the capital this morning and went back to the godly Dr. Valley. What? He already left? Why so suddenly? Empress Dowager Zhou was shocked. She put down the chopsticks in her hand and revealed a regretful expression. She gave a faint sigh and said, This widow has received his favor, but before I can repay him, he has already left like this. How can this widow's heart be at peace? Imperial Mother, as a doctor, Divine Dr. Gu's duty as a doctor is to treat and save people. He won't covet Imperial Mother's reward. I originally wanted to reward him heavily, but after thinking about it, I couldn't think of a suitable gift. If I rewarded such an extraordinary person like him with a high official's gift, it would be an insult to him. As for his kindness in treating Imperial Mother's illness, I will remember it in my heart. As long as there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay his kindness. Empress Dowager Zhou nodded and said, You have to remember it. Receiving a bit of kindness from someone, you have to repay it with a spring. You can't not repay him just because he is a divine doctor. This widow also heard that he took your Empress as his disciple. Is this true? Mo Chuan replied, That's right, there is this matter. Ning is naturally intelligent and has a photographic memory, so the ancient divine doctor likes her a lot. That's why he took her as his last disciple. Empress Dowager Zhou picked up a dish and took a bite. Then she put down the chopsticks and said, That is her good fortune. Only, since she took the ancient divine doctor as her master and the master left, why hasn't she left as his disciple? Could it be she isn't going to the godly Dr. Valley to learn medicine with the ancient divine doctor? Perhaps she can't bear the pain of cultivating in the mountains, so she can't bear to leave the prosperity of the capital and the fine clothes and food in the palace. She revealed a faint cold smile and revealed a look of disdain. Emo Chuan replied with a serious expression, "Mother has wronged Ning. She was indeed going to the godly Doctor Valley to learn medicine with the ancient divine doctor, but your son couldn't bear for her to leave, so he forced her to stay with your son." He knew that Empress Dowager Zhou was still dissatisfied with Chen Ning, but he couldn't tell Empress Dowager Zhou about Chu Xiaoyang's betrayal, so he used himself as the reason. When Empress Dowager Zhou heard this, she couldn't help glaring at him in disappointment. "Emperor, how can you be so sentimental? You've truly wasted all the teachings I've given you. Yes, it's all your son's fault. Your son feels like there are fewer and fewer people he can trust by his side, so he treasures everyone around him. Your son can't bear to part with Ning and your son can't bear to part with Mother. Your son only wants to see Mother healthy and happy every day, that's enough." Emo Chuan looked at Empress Dowager Zhou with sincere eyes. His words came from the bottom of his heart. Ever since Chu Xiaobai left, he had been feeling guilty. If he knew this day would come, he would have treated Chu Xiaobai well. Empress Dowager Zhou's heart skipped a beat. She reached out and placed her hand on the back of Emo Chuan's hand. "Good child, for you to say these words, it's not a waste of Mother's efforts." Mother and Empress looked at each other and smiled. Their hearts were filled with boundless warmth. All the estrangement and confusion disappeared in this smile. Chapter 1553. "Come Chuaner, have a taste of this dish." Empress Dowager Zhou had a smile on her face. Her brows were filled with happiness as she personally placed a dish into Emo Chuan's bowl. Emo Chuan was also filled with happiness. He rarely saw this kind of heartfelt smile on Empress Dowager Zhou's face. He said with a smile, "Your son has already said that the dishes in Mother's palace are the best and they are all your son's favorite." He was speaking the truth. Empress Dowager Zhou liked to eat light vegetarian food and this table was mostly filled with fragrant meat dishes. Out of 10 dishes, 9 of them were his favorite. It was clear they were specially prepared for him. "Since you like it, then eat more. This widow has seen that you've become skinnier over the past few days and your eyes are completely red. This widow has also heard that you spent the entire night in the royal study. Emperor, the country's politics are important, but your body is also important. If you tire yourself out, aren't you afraid this widow will be worried about you?" Empress Dowager Zhou looked at him with a pained expression as she turned to give orders to Su Jin. "Quickly stew a bowl of bird's nest for the emperor to nourish his body." "Yes, Empress Dowager." Su Jin bowed before turning to leave. She had watched Emo Chuan grow up, so her love for Emo Chuan was no different from Empress Dowager Zhou's. Emo Chuan said with a smile, "Mother is worrying too much. Your son is a martial artist, so I need less sleep than normal people. Your son only needs to meditate for a bit and it will be comparable to a normal person sleeping for 2 hours. Mother can be assured your son will take care of his body." He saw that Empress Dowager Zhou still wanted to say something, so he quickly said, "Mother, this dish is really good. I wonder where Mother found this chef to actually make such a delicious dish." Empress Dowager Zhou said with a faint smile, "If you didn't mention it, this widow would have forgotten. That's right, this widow invited you to dinner today because this widow has found a good chef. The dishes on the table are all made by this chef and this widow feels that they are not bad. I never thought that even the emperor would like to eat the dishes made by this chef." Emo Chuan praised, "Congratulations, Mother, it's rare for a chef to receive Mother's praise. This person's cooking skills are not ordinary, so your son will definitely heavily reward him, making him do his best to cook for Mother." "There's no need to congratulate me, this chef's dishes do not suit this widow's taste. This widow likes to eat vegetables, the simpler the better. This chef's skills are not ordinary, leaving him here for this widow is a waste of talent. How about this widow send this chef to the emperor's Guanyu palace? You can always eat the delicacies this chef makes, how about that?" Empress Dowager Zhou said with a smile. Empress Dowager Zhou nodded. Empress Dowager Zhou said with a smile, "Then wouldn't it be your son stealing Mother's people?" "Silly child, why are you talking about stealing? If Mother has something good, she will think of you first. If you are willing, this widow will send someone to send this chef to your palace." Empress Dowager Zhou said. Her words filled Emo Chuan's heart with warmth and he replied with a smile, "Since it's like this, it would be disrespectful for this minister to refuse. Your son thanks Mother." He did not care about the chef's cooking skills, he only cared about Empress Dowager Zhou's care for him. As for the Guanyu Palace, having a chef with good cooking skills was not bad. Ning would definitely like the dishes made by this chef. Chapter 1554. Mo Chuan thought that Empress Dowager Zhou would ask about Chu Xiaoyang, but after eating the meal and eating Su Jin's bird's nest, Empress Dowager Zhou did not mention the name Chu Xiaoyang at all. He secretly thought that he was thinking too much? Empress Dowager Zhou called him over just to have a meal with him and have a few words of conversation? Empress Dowager Zhou waited for him to drink another cup of tea before saying, "Emperor, you are busy, so this widow won't keep you. You can eat a meal with this widow today and chat for a bit. This widow is already very happy. You don't need to come every day for the next few days, you have to prioritize the important matters." Mo Chuan stood up and respectfully gave a bow. "Your son understands. Mother, please rest. Your son will leave now." Empress Dowager Zhou gave a slight nod and said, "Good child, you can go." Mo Chuan looked at the Empress Dowager Zhou's kind smile under the candlelight and his heart couldn't help feeling sour. He thought that if Chu Xiaoyang really rebelled, it would be hard to see this kind of smile on his mother's face again. "Mother, please take care of yourself. Your son will come visit mother when I have time." After saying that, he turned around and left the peaceful life palace. On the way he thought back to the 2 hours he spent with Empress Dowager Zhou. The mother and son were very harmonious and Empress Dowager Zhou even took the initiative to mention Qin Ning's name. Although her voice was still a bit dissatisfied, she didn't scold her like before. Her face was filled with anger, clearly showing that she wanted to accept Ning. As expected, his mother no longer rejected Qin Ning. For her to have this kind of change, Gu Qingze played a huge role. When Mo Chuan thought of this, his gratitude towards Gu Qingze increased by another level. Coming out of the peaceful life palace, he did not return to the Guanyu palace, rather he went straight to the royal study. With the battle around the corner, he did not have the heart to rest at all, he had to use this time to study the military books. Even on the way back to the royal study, he impatiently took out the military books from his sleeves and began to read them in the candlelight. When he arrived at the royal study, he came out of the carriage. Seeing the light coming from the window, he knew that Qin Ning had not left yet. As expected, when he entered the room, he saw Qin Ning sitting under the candlelight, looking at the large map on the table. She didn't even notice him walking behind her. Mo Chuan quietly stood behind her for a while and saw that she was staring at a location on the map. He followed her gaze and saw that she was looking at the Nongguan village's red dot. "What are you thinking, being so engrossed? Could it be that you want to recommend yourself and lead the troops to fight the enemy on my behalf?" Mo Chuan said this and scared Qin. She suddenly turned around and found that it was Mo Chuan. She angrily said, "Mo Chuan, why are you scaring me?" Mo Chuan smiled as he reached out to hug her. His chin rubbed the top of her head. "You were too engrossed and didn't even know that I came. It's a good thing that I came. If it was an assassin, your head wouldn't be there right now." Qin Ning giggled and disapprovingly said, "You've set up an inescapable net around the royal study and there are skilled secret guards, how could an assassin get close to me?" She suddenly thought of something and asked, "Is the Empress Dowager calling you because she knows about Chu Xiaoyang?" Chapter 1555. Qin Ning was a bit surprised. She tilted her head and thought about it, but she couldn't guess what Empress Dowager Zhou was thinking. Did the Empress Dowager mention me? Is she in a bad mood whenever I'm mentioned? Mo Chuan deliberately nodded with a serious expression. "That's right, mother did mention your name. Then did she become so angry that she couldn't even eat?" Her heart suddenly skipped a beat and a bad feeling filled her heart. "Silly girl, do you think your mother is such a narrow-minded person? She only asked about the matter of you and the ancient divine doctor. She also said that it was your good fortune to have the ancient divine doctor as your master and she hoped that you could properly learn medicine from the ancient divine doctor. She didn't say anything bad about you, so are you assured now?" Mo Chuan thought of the smile on Empress Dowager Zhou's face and his heart was filled with an indescribable joy. Even the haze of Chu Xiaoyang's betrayal was swept away. Empress Dowager Zhou and her were the two people he cared about the most. His greatest wish was for Empress Dowager Zhou to accept Qin Ning one day. He hoped that the person he liked, Empress Dowager Zhou, would like him. After talking to Empress Dowager Zhou and seeing her attitude, Mo Chuan could foresee that this wish would come true soon. Qin Ning was a bit surprised. She thought that Empress Dowager Zhou had called Mo Chuan because she knew about Chu Xiaoyang's matter. According to her calculations, Empress Dowager Zhou would put this bad debt on her head. If she wasn't scolding her, she would force Mo Chuan to divorce her. Who would have thought that this was not the case at all? She knew that her previous identity was a thorn in Empress Dowager Zhou's heart. For a strong person like Empress Dowager Zhou to soften, it was truly strange. Mo Chuan, actually the Empress Dowager loves you very much. Her attitude towards me before was not because she hated me but rather because of my identity. The Empress Dowager cares about you too much, so she can't allow a stain like me to exist by your side. Before Qin Ning could finish, Mo Chuan had already cut her off. He tightly held her hand and firmly said, "Who said you are a stain? I will not allow you to talk about yourself like this. You are the only treasure in this world and I was lucky enough to find you first. Being able to marry you is the greatest fortune of my life. Mo Chuan, being able to meet you is my fortune." Qin Ning bit her lips and revealed a faint smile. She forced back the tears in her eyes. No, she couldn't go on like this. If he said a few more heartfelt words, she would be willing to die for him. We're husband and wife, so is there a need to be this polite? Mo Chuan also smiled, revealing his snow-white teeth. His facial features were very handsome. Qin Ning's face turned red and she turned her head, not wanting to look at his bewitching smile. This guy had grown to look like this. Even she couldn't help but feel her heart palpitate when she saw him. No wonder Zhao Rongjunju was willing to die for him. She wanted to marry him even if it cost her life. Amo mean to her, I say her. T. And dowing, the comma of the U, Qin said, done comma Qin. I dower. Ning said. I. Chapter 1556. Qin Ning had already forgotten about this matter, but when he mentioned it, her stomach began to rumble. I forgot. You have tea and desserts here, I'll just eat a few desserts to fill my stomach. She picked up a dessert and was about to put it in her mouth when Mo Chuan took it from her hand. She couldn't help being stunned. What, you won't even let me eat desserts? Silly girl, how can desserts fill your stomach? You always say that I don't care about my body, but what about you? That's right, Mother sent a chef to the Guanyu Palace and he should be here by now. You should go back to the palace and have a taste of this chef's cooking. The food he makes is very delicious, I'm sure you'll like it. Mo Chuan suddenly thought of this. You're saying that the Empress Dowager sent you a chef? Qin Ning's eyes opened wide in surprise, feeling very surprised. Then she thought that it must be because Empress Dowager Zhou loved her son and was worried that the dishes made by the small kitchen in the Guanyu Palace wouldn't suit her son's taste, so she sent the best chef over. She couldn't help saying with a faint smile, the Empress Dowager is truly thoughtful. All right, then I'll go back to the palace and have a taste of this chef's cooking. What about you? Are you still going to stay here and study tonight? Mo Chuan took out the 2 military books from his sleeve and said with a smile, these 2 books of yours are treasures, surpassing all of Chu Xiaoyang's military books. You've carefully written these military books, naturally I can't let you down. If I don't work hard and lose to Chu Xiaoyang, wouldn't I lose face for you? Relax, if I'm tired I'll meditate for a bit. As long as I circulate my energy for a bit, I'll be full of energy. You're a lazy girl who doesn't want to cultivate. Do you know the benefits of internal energy now? When Qin Ning heard the word cultivate, her head swelled up. She was afraid that Mo Chuan would force her to cultivate internal energy again, so she quickly said, all right. Then I'll go back first. Wait a bit, I'll call Xiaoxi to send you back. No need, we're in the palace and there are so many secret guards protecting me. Are you still worried that something will happen? You should have more people by your side just in case someone tries to assassinate you. Mo Chuan said, if there are assassins that dare to come, I'll catch one. If one comes, I'll catch 2. I'm just afraid they won't come. He raised his brows and he was filled with confidence. Qin Ning couldn't help revealing a faint smile. She nodded and said, all right, then let Xiaoxi come back with me. That girl Xiao Ru has been cooped up in the palace for the past few days and I don't have time to take her out to play. I'll let Xiaoxi chat with her and have some fun. You're really good to that girl Xiao Ru. For a dumb girl like her to have a good master like you, it really is her good fortune from her previous life. Mo Chuan looked at her and said, it's because she treats me well. Putting myself in her shoes, I naturally have to treat her well. Moreover, the first person I saw when I opened my eyes was her. Everyone thought I was dead and only she stayed by my bedside, crying until her eyes were swollen. She thought back to the first scene she saw when she transmigrated. It was a broken house with a wooden bed. It was cold and empty, and there was only Xiao Ru crying by her side. Chapter 1557. Qin Ning suddenly realized that she had spilled the beans. After calming herself down, she said, I'm talking about when I was in the King Dingyuan Palace. I spat out blood and fainted after being poisoned. I thought I was going to die, but I didn't know how I woke up. The person who harmed you that day was Qin Baiyun, right? Mo Chuan suddenly slapped the table and knit his brows. I actually forgot about her. Although Chu Xiaoyang has run away, Qin Baiyun is still in his King Dingyuan palace and she still has his flesh and blood in her stomach. If Chu Xiaoyang still has a bit of affection, he would not allow his woman and child to stay in West Chu. He would definitely send people to take them away. That's right, it must be like this. He loudly shouted, "Someone come." Xiao Si immediately answered from outside the door. "Immediately send out my orders. Send the imperial army to protect the King Dingyuan palace. No one is allowed to enter or leave. Also, send a group of secret guards to keep an eye on Qin Baiyun for this one. If Qin Baiyun runs away, then bring their heads back to this one." Mo Chuan ordered in a sharp voice. Xiao Si's face slightly changed as he loudly replied, "Yes, I will obey your orders." Qin Ning gave a sigh in her heart as she secretly thought, if Chu Xiaoyang really cared about Qin Baiyun, he would not have left alone. Since he left, it means that he did not care about Qin Baiyun's life or the child in her stomach. Back at the spring banquet, Chu Xiaoyang could lie through his teeth and completely push away the responsibility of this child. This meant that in his heart, this child did not have a place at all. As for that Qin Baiyun, she had tried to scheme against her again and again. She just wanted to obtain Chu Xiaoyang and obtain the position of King Dingyuan's princess. But what did she obtain in the end? She only had the flesh and blood Chu Xiaoyang had left in her stomach. If Chu Xiaoyang really rebelled, then she would immediately become a prisoner. The child in her stomach would no longer be King Dingyuan's little heir and would become a sinner with her. Even if Mo Chuan spared their lives, it would be hard for them to escape the fate of being imprisoned for the rest of their lives. Using all her schemes and harming Qingqing's life, this was a true portrayal of Qin Baiyun. Thinking of this, she couldn't help sighing. She did not have any sympathy for this half-sister of hers because this was all her own doing. Coming out of the royal study, she sat on the sedan back to the palace with Xiao Si by her side. Qin Ning lifted the curtain and saw Xiao Si. She said in a strange voice, "Didn't the emperor tell you to do something? Why are you still here?" Xiao Si raised his hands and respectfully replied, "What the emperor has ordered, this servant has already sent down the decree. There will naturally be people to complete it. The emperor has ordered this servant to protect the empress. This is the most important matter in the emperor's heart." Qin Ning couldn't help smiling as she said, "Your mouth really knows how to talk. No wonder Xiao Ru is always so happy being coaxed by you. She keeps saying that she wants to hear your stories." Xiao Si stuck out his tongue. Once he mentioned Xiao Ru, his expression became lively. "This servant doesn't really know how to tell stories. I can only tell a few interesting things this servant has encountered. Miss Xiao Ru really likes listening to it. In this servant's heart, Xiao Ru is like this servant's little sister. If this servant's little sister was still here, she would be around Xiao Ru's age." Qin Ning said in a curious voice, "You have a little sister?" Chapter 1558. Then what happened after that? Where is your little sister now? Your parents and family? Qin Ning asked. She never knew Xiao Si's background. She had only heard Mo Chuan mention that he had entered the palace as a eunuch when he was young. This was the first time she had heard Xiao Si mention his family. This servant's parents are both dead. Xiao Si raised his head and revealed a sad expression. "When this servant was young, there was a drought in my hometown, so my parents brought me and my little sister away from home. We begged all the way to the capital city wanting to rely on our relatives, but we couldn't take the hunger on the way, so we sold this servant's little sister to a family. Afterwards, my little sister's money was used up and my parents starved to death, leaving me alone. I followed a group of beggars to the capital city and heard that as long as I entered the palace, I would have food to eat and clothes to wear, so I entered the palace to become a eunuch. As expected, the days in the palace are much better than when I was a beggar. I have good food to eat, good clothes to wear, and I even met a good master like the emperor." Saying this, he raised his hand to wipe away the tears that had unknowingly fallen from his face. He suddenly realized something and said, "Look at this servant's mouth, what nonsense is this servant saying? How could this servant mention these old matters in front of the empress? This servant will not say it in the future, not even a single word." Qin Ning looked at his thin face and gave a soft sigh. Then she said in a gentle voice, "Xiao Si, I never thought that your background would be this pitiful. You are a lonely person and Xiao Ru has lost her parents. She was sold to my family as a maid since she was young, but your backgrounds are very similar. You said that Xiao Ru is like your little sister, so you can treat her like your little sister in the future. When I'm not in the palace, you have to take care of her and talk to her, all right?" Xiao Si wiped his tears and said with a smile, "All right, this servant also likes to talk to Xiao Ru. What, does the empress want to leave the palace?" He looked at Qin Ning with wide eyes. Chen Ning thought that this Xiaoxi was very mischievous. She couldn't let him see anything and reveal it to Mo Chuan. She said with a faint smile, "I'm saying that in the future the emperor and I will have to leave the palace and it won't be convenient to bring Xiao Ru with us. At that time you have to take care of her, alright?" "Alright, this servant will definitely take good care of Xiao Ru, just like my own little sister." Xiaoxi straightforwardly agreed. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and put down the curtain. The group returned to the Guanyu Palace. Chen Ning got off the carriage and walked through the gates. Looking at the empty courtyard, she couldn't help feeling a little strange. It wasn't late yet and it wasn't time to go to bed, but why were all the eunuchs and palace maids gone? Could it be that assassin from the Purple Heaven had come back? She thought of the river of blood that day and her heart tightened. The first person she thought of was Xiao Ru. God, Xiao Ru was lucky enough to escape last time, he couldn't let anything happen to her this time. Xiao Ru. She raised her voice and shouted. At the same time she rushed over to Xiao Ru's room. She was startled and couldn't help but laugh at herself for being overly suspicious. That assassin from Purple Heaven Pavilion had taken her bone-melting pill and lost all of his power. How could he possibly make a comeback? Chapter 1559. Chen Ning walked out of Xiao Ru's room and saw Xiaoxi guarding the door. He had a nervous look on his face as he asked, "Empress, what happened to Miss Xiao Ru?" She smiled and shook her head as she said, "Xiao Ru should be waiting in my room for me to come back. I'll go see that girl, she must have fallen asleep waiting for me. She didn't even hear me call her." Xiaoxi relaxed and revealed a smile as he followed Chen Ning into the palace. "Yeah. So beautiful. So beautiful. She's like a fairy descending to the mortal world. I've never seen such an enchanting beauty before." "Me too. Although I'm a girl, I've also been enchanted by her." Before the two of them reached the palace, they saw a large group of maids and eunuchs surrounding the palace. They were all peeking in and giving out surprised praises at the same time. Chen Ning couldn't help smiling. No wonder she couldn't find anyone in the palace, they had all come here. But what were they doing in front of her palace? Could it be that a fairy had fallen from the heavens and landed right in her palace? "Hey, what are you all doing here? This is the Empress Palace." Seeing this, Xiaoxi took a step forward and shouted at the top of his lungs. The palace maids all turned around. When they saw Chen Ning, their faces filled with panic as they knelt down on the ground. "Greetings to the Empress. We ask the Empress for forgiveness." Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and raised her hand. "Everyone stand up. What are you all doing here? Is there something fun to see in my room?" Reporting to the Empress, It's a fairy-like beauty that came to our palace." A maid quickly replied. Chen Ning and Xiaoxi were both stunned. "A fairy-like beauty?" Chen Ning's eyes revealed a look of interest. It was a woman's nature to like beautiful things, even Chen Ning was not an exception. Her heart was filled with curiosity as she walked into the palace. She wanted to see just what kind of beautiful things this fairy-like beauty had. Xiaoxi became suspicious and asked, "What fairy-like beauty, where did it come from?" The maids replied, "It was someone sent by the Empress Dowager." When Xiaoxi heard this, his suspicions disappeared. He was also curious as he followed behind Chen Ning. "This is really strange. Why would the Empress Dowager send a beauty here for no reason?" he muttered in a low voice. Chen Ning walked into the bedroom and saw that the room was brightly lit, as if it was daytime. At the same time, the fragrance of food wafted into her nose. "Young miss, you're back." Xiao Ru heard the sound of footsteps and looked up to see Chen Ning. Her little face revealed a surprised and happy expression as she quickly came forward. "But other than the table full of dishes, Ning?" Chen Ru, Xiao Ru, Shi Ru and Chen Ning's face Ning Chen Xiao Chen Ning and Tian Ru Xiao Ning Chen and Ru Xiao Chen Shi Ning Chen 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 Chen. However, apart from the table full of dishes, there were no goddess-like beauties. Chen Yang She looked over Xiao Ru and saw that her round apple-shaped face was blushing. Her eyes were shining with excitement, making her eyes look dark and bright. She had grown a bit taller and had turned into a delicate and elegant little beauty. She had turned into a beautiful and slender little beauty. Chapter 1560. Young miss, try this dragon well prawns. Is it good? Xiao Ru eagerly helped her bring out the dish. The taste is light and sweet. It has the fragrance of the tea leaves and the sweetness of the prawns. It's very good. I can't see it, but Xiao Ru's cooking skills have greatly improved. Chen Ning ate a mouthful of prawns and pinched Xiao Ru's red apple cheeks in praise. Xiao Ru's face was filled with excitement as she helped her eat another dish. Young miss, try this brown sugar cake. Not bad, it's crispy and fragrant. It's sweet but not greasy. Chen Ning liked this kind of cake the most, so she ate 2 pieces in one go. Xiao Si stood on the side, swallowing his saliva as he looked at the dishes on the table. When Chen Ning saw this, she revealed a faint smile and said, "Xiao Ru, give these 2 dishes to Xiao Si. Xiao Si, you don't need to be so polite. You must be hungry after a long day so you can eat them." Xiao Si was filled with joy as he quickly went forward to receive them. He said, "Many thanks to the Empress." In front of Chen Ning he did not dare sit on a chair, so he took the 2 dishes and sat on the doorstep. He began to eat in large mouthfuls, praising the food as he said, "Delicious, too delicious." Xiao Ru saw this and her eyes turned into crescents. She poured a cup of tea for Xiao Si. "Xiao Si, don't just eat, drink some tea. Be careful not to choke. Eat slowly, there's no need to rush. As long as you like it, you can eat it whenever you want in the future." Xiao Si's mouth was filled with food and his words were unclear. "These dishes are really delicious. Xiao Ru, your cooking skills are really good. Whoever marries you in the future will have a lifetime of good food to enjoy." Pei, who wants to marry someone. If you keep talking nonsense, I won't let you eat it in the future. Xiao Ru's face couldn't help turning red. She spat at him and then turned back to serve Chen Ning. "Young miss, do you like today's dishes?" Her eyes sparkled as she asked. I like it a lot. But there's one bad thing." "Ah? What's bad about it?" The smile on Xiao Ru's face instantly disappeared. Chen Ning said with a smile, "If you make this kind of delicious food for me every day, I'll become fat in a few days. That wouldn't be good. The emperor would not like a woman that's as fat as a pig, right?" Xiao Ru let out a sigh and patted her chest as she said, "I've really scared the young miss. Does this mean that you like to eat this kind of food?" Xiao Ru nodded with a smile. "That's great. If that's the case, then she can stay." Little Ru instantly smiled. "What do you mean she can stay?" Chen Ning was confused hearing this. Xiao Ru giggled, "It's the chef who made these dishes. Young miss, you mean you agree to keep her, right?" Xiao Ru Chen Xiao Xiao Chen. Are you saying that these dishes weren't made by you but by someone else?" That's right. "How can this servant's cooking compare to hers? She's the chef sent by the Empress Dowager. Eldest miss, don't you know?" Chen Ning suddenly remembered that Mo Chuan had mentioned this before. She revealed a faint smile and said, "This chef's cooking skills are not bad and she was sent by the Empress Dowager, so we can keep her. We'll have good food in the future." Chapter 1561. Qian. Chen Ning said with a smile, "This chef's name sounds like a girl's name." Her words came to a stop. He saw a slim and graceful figure slowly walk out from behind the screen. She had a head of black hair and although it was combed into a normal palace bun, each strand of hair was shining like black satin. Her head was slightly lowered, only revealing a smooth and beautiful chin. It was so small that anyone who saw it would feel a sense of pity. She was wearing the same palace maid's attire as Xiao Ru. The palace dress that couldn't be any more ordinary was worn on her body, but it perfectly outlined her graceful figure. Her slender waist was so slender that it required one to hold it in one hand. Every step she took was like she was walking on a lotus platform, like a weak willow in the wind, graceful and graceful. Although he had not seen her face, he could already tell that this was a beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. Xiao Si's breathing stopped. His eyes and mouth were wide open, and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. With a quang dang sound, the plate in his hand fell to the ground and he was covered in food. But he still stared at the beauty that was slowly walking out from behind the screen, not moving his eyes at all. When Xiao Ru saw this, she wanted to laugh, but she didn't know why, but her heart suddenly filled with anger. She couldn't help glaring at him. No wonder the young miss said that men were all lustful. Even a little eunuch like Xiao Si was no exception. Seeing this beauty that was like a goddess, his eyes almost popped out. Let's see if she still ignores him in the future. Chen Ning was stunned. She stared blankly at the beauty walking over and then bowing down in front of her. "Xiao Ru, this girl is the chef you were talking about?" she asked in a voice filled with disbelief. For a beautiful girl like this, she could do anything, but why would she become a kitchen maid? That's right, young miss. Don't you think she's beautiful? Other than the young miss, this servant has never seen a beauty more beautiful than her. Not only is she beautiful, her cooking skills are also first class and her name is very nice to hear. It's a pity that there's just one bad thing about her. Xiao Ru gave a sigh and revealed a look of regret. What's bad? Chen Ning asked in a curious voice. The girl named Qian was kneeling in front of her. Now that she was closer, she could see more clearly. The girl's head was half lowered. Her long and curly eyelashes fluttered like the wings of a butterfly. The skin on her chin was soft and tender, white and fine like a piece of tofu. Even she couldn't help being amazed. This girl was truly beautiful. Young miss, this servant will tell you, but you can't look down on Chen Chen and you can't look down on her. She's good in every way, she doesn't know how to speak. Xiao Ru said in a small voice, stuttering. What? Can't speak? Is she a mute? Xiao Si blurted out. He immediately felt a great sense of regret in his heart. The heavens were really too unfair. They had clearly created this fairy-like beauty, but they had given her such a flaw. The heavens really made fools of people. Xiao Ru immediately glared at him and angrily said, She's not a mute. She just doesn't know how to speak. Xiao Si, if you say she's a mute again, I won't let Chan Chan cook for you anymore. Chapter 1562. From the first time she saw Chen Chen, she fell in love with this girl that was as beautiful as a dream and as soft as water. She especially had such good cooking skills. When she found out that Chen Chen couldn't speak, she wished she could cut off her tongue and give it to Chen Chen as long as Chen Chen could speak. But sometimes she also felt that Chen Chen didn't need to know how to speak at all. Her pair of beautiful and charming eyes turned, and she had already said what she wanted to say. She was captivated by Chen Chan's eyes, and only wanted to treat her well with all her heart. When Chen Ning heard that Chen Chen couldn't speak, she felt the same as Xiao Si. She felt a kind of pity and regret. She looked down at Chen Chen kneeling in front of her and said in a soft voice, You're called Chen Chen? This name is very nice to hear. Xiao Ru said you couldn't speak, but can you hear me? Lift up your head and let me see. Chen Chen lowered her head and her shoulders trembled, as if she was a little nervous. But very quickly she slowly raised her head. Her eyes were still lowered, not daring to look at Chen Ning. As soon as she raised her head, everyone present felt their eyes light up. It was as if all the candles in the hall had exploded, or as if a bright moon had slowly risen, its clear radiance curling up in spirals. Yeah, she's really beautiful. Chen Ning praised in a soft voice. She rarely praised a girl like this, but when she saw Chen Chen's face she couldn't help but praise her. Xiao Si couldn't take his eyes off her, revealing an infatuated look. Xiao Ru couldn't help giving a snort. Although Chen Chen was very beautiful, seeing Xiao Si staring at Chen Chen like this, her heart was filled with an indescribable anger. Chen Chen raised her long eyelashes and quickly looked at Chen Ning. Her eyes were filled with charm, especially those eyes that were slightly raised. It was filled with a bewitching feeling. She made a few hand gestures and her 10 slender jade fingers were as beautiful as orchids. Xiao Si was stunned seeing this. He felt that from her hair to her feet, there was not a single part of her that wasn't beautiful. But what did she mean by making these hand gestures? He couldn't understand it at all. Chen Ning understood. Chen Chen was using sign language, which was no different from what she had learned in the modern era. You know sign language? That's good, it will be much easier to communicate in the future. Say, do you want to stay in my Guan Osprey Palace? Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said in a warm voice. Chen Chan's expressive eyes looked at her for a moment, then she lowered her eyes and nodded slightly. Chen eyes looked at her for a while before looking down and gently nodding her head. These were not the eyes of a person. These eyes were Chen. This Chen you. As if she is a human as Chen as she wanted. Chen as she, as this as this, Chen as you, Chen you as this. What do you want to say? Chen Ning looked at him and revealed a surprised look. Chapter 1563. Empress, this servant feels that this Miss Chan Chan's dishes are not good at all. If the Empress is not satisfied with the Guan Osprey Palace's chefs, this servant can go find the best chef in the imperial kitchen to cook for the Empress. As for this Miss Chan Chan, we should send her back. Xiao Si bravely said. He was wholeheartedly supporting Chen Ning. He was secretly thinking that he had fallen head over heels for Chan Chan's face. If the Emperor saw it, what would happen? Therefore, such a vixen could not be allowed to stay here. It would be better to send her away as soon as possible before the Emperor saw her. Who would have thought that after he said this, before Chen Ning could say anything, Xiao Ru had already jumped up in anger. You're speaking nonsense. You said that Chan Chan's dishes are not good, then why did you wolf it down and almost lick the plate? You're clearly lying. You want to send Qian away? What are your intentions? She pointed at Xiao Xi's nose as she shouted. Xiao Xi stared at her. He simply couldn't understand what Xiao Ru's head was made of. Was she really made of wood? Could it be that she couldn't tell that she was clearing the obstacles for her eldest young miss? He really wanted to grab a handful of grass and stuff Xiao Ru's mouth up. Miss Xiao Ru, whether Qian's dishes are good or not depends on the Empress' opinion. Let's just listen to the Empress' opinion. Xiao Xi looked at Ning. He believed that Ning would be able to understand his hint just now. Xiao Ru fiercely rolled her eyes at him and said to Ning, "Young miss, you said that Qian's dishes are good and you said you wanted her to stay. You won't go back on your word, right?" Ning did not look at Xiao Ru or Xiao Xi. Her eyes fell onto Qian's face and she said with a faint smile, "Qian, what do you think? Do you want to stay in my Guan Osprey Palace or do you want to return to the Empress Dowager's Peaceful Life Palace?" Qian revealed a determined look. She first made a gesture and then forcefully nodded. Ning said, "Oh, you want to stay, right?" Qian forcefully nodded again. "All right, since you're willing to stay then you can stay. Xiao Ru, bring Qian down and arrange a place for her to stay. Then tell her the rules of the palace. All right, you can all leave." Xiao Ru was pleasantly surprised as she said, "Young miss, you really agree to let Qian stay? And since you like Qian this much, then treat her well. You can't bully her just because she can't speak, do you understand?" Ning patted her head with a smile. "How could I bully Qian? She's so beautiful and I can't wait to like her. I'm not like a certain person who only knows how to say one thing and mean another." Xiao Ru said this and then glared at Xiao Xi. Lil, for was depressed. It was as if there was a big piece of cotton stuck in his chest. It was uncomfortable. Xiao Xi could not help but feel. So, could it be that the emperor, Xiaoqing Qs she could that? Qian I Qing Li Qian I, Q. I Xiao Q Li Emperor King, Qian, said Qian, Qing, Chapter 1564. Miss Qian, come with me. Xiao Ru came forward and affectionately pulled Qian's hand, leading her out. Qian gently walked forward with a slender waist. After taking a few steps, she couldn't help looking back at Ning. Ning was also looking at her and giving her a gentle smile. Qian's face turned red and she looked down, following behind Xiao Ru. Ning waited until Qian's figure disappeared into the night before slowly looking back. She raised a cup of tea to her lips and slowly sipped it, revealing a thoughtful expression on her face. "Xiao Xi, if you have something to say then say it. There are no outsiders here," she slowly said. Xiao Xi already had a scratching appearance as he impatiently said, "Empress, this servant doesn't understand. Why are you keeping Qian in the Guanyu Palace?" Ning looked up at him and said with a faint smile, "You're not keeping her and letting her return to the Peaceful Life Palace? Why can't I? The Empress can say that she doesn't like Qian's cooking and the Empress Dowager can't force her into the Guanyu Palace. But I feel that Qian's cooking is very delicious," Ning said with a smile. Xiao Xi was so anxious that he began to sweat. "Empress, this servant doesn't believe that you can't see that Qian is too beautiful, simply a beauty. This servant is worried that if the Emperor sees her, he might. He bit his lower lip twice, not daring to speak further. "Might what? Xiao Xi, what are you saying behind this one's back? This one hasn't been here for a while and you're already saying bad things about this one in front of the Empress. Do you not want your head anymore?" Suddenly Mo Chuan's voice came from outside the door. As his voice fell, his tall and straight figure appeared in front of them. Xiao Xi was so scared that his body trembled. He fell to the ground with a plop and began to kowtow. "This servant doesn't dare. Even if this servant had 120 guts, I would definitely not say bad things about the Emperor. Empress, you have to say something fair for this servant, right?" Ning stood up. "Mo Chuan, didn't you want to stay in the royal study to read? Why did you come back? Don't blame Xiao Xi. If he said anything bad about you, pigs would be able to climb trees." Xiao Xi was filled with fear, but when he heard Ning's words, he almost burst out laughing. He quickly suppressed it, not daring to look up. Mo Chuan pulled Ning's hand and his eyes fell onto the unfinished dishes on the table. "I was worried that you wouldn't eat properly, but I never thought that the new chef would not only be good at cooking, his eyes would also be good. He had already prepared such a sumptuous meal. How about it, are you satisfied with his cooking?" Ning said with a faint smile, "The chef sent by the Empress Dowager is truly extraordinary, making everything I like. I've already agreed to let her stay and have Xiao Ru arrange a place for her to stay." Mo Chuan nodded and looked at Xiao Si. Before this one came, what did you brats say to the Empress? I seem to have heard you mention this one. Are you worried that this one will see something? Mo Chin Xiao Si. Chuan Chuan Mo Chuan's face. Mo Chuan's Mo Chuan's Mo him Qian to Xian Qian's to Zhao's sc tes. Xiao Qian Tian Si said, TT the Qs XD Momomo Xiao Si anxiously said, this servant doesn't dare. Then tell the truth. Mo Chuan shouted in a deep voice. Chapter 1565. I'm talking about the new chef. She. Xiao Si stuttered as he secretly looked at Mo Chuan. What about that chef? Mo Chuan knit his brows. Xiao Si gritted his teeth and steeled his heart as he said, Emperor, that chef is a girl and she looks like a fox spirit. She only looked at this servant once and this servant felt my bones turn soft. This servant is worried that if this kind of girl stays in the Guan Yu palace, the emperor might. Even if he had a lot of courage, he wouldn't dare say the rest of his words. But Mo Chuan already understood his meaning, so he smiled instead of being angry. Ha, you're worried that this one will like that girl? Like a fox spirit? Looking at you and your bones turn soft, do you think this one is as useless as you? He glanced at Chen Ning. Ning, you've seen her? Does that girl really look like a fox? Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile. Of course I've seen her. That girl doesn't look like a fox, rather she looks like a fairy. If you want to see her, I'll have Xiao Ru bring her over for you to see. Mo Chuan waved his sleeve and said in an uninterested voice, what fairy, I don't want to see her. As long as her cooking is good, it doesn't matter even if she looks like a fox. If you like her cooking you can keep her. If you don't, this one will send her back to mother's palace. Xiao Si was filled with joy when he heard this and kept looking at Chen Ning. Chen Ning pretended like she didn't see it and she still had a smile on her face. I actually like this girl called Chen Qian. Not only does she cook good food, she also has a beautiful face. There's a phrase called beauty is a feast for the eyes, have you heard of it before? Since you like her, then keep her. As for the phrase, beauty is a feast for the eyes, this is the first time I've heard it. Why don't you tell me what do these words mean? Mo Chuan had a smile in his eyes as he raised his hand to pinch her chin. His deep dark eyes looked at her without blinking, making her face turn red and her heart beat faster. Especially since his words were filled with teasing. She couldn't help saying in a slightly angry voice, Mo Chuan? He was teasing her in front of Xiao Si. He was the ruler of a country, did he even want his face? Xiao Si scram. Mo Chuan didn't even look at Xiao Si as he shouted in a deep voice. Xiao Si's head was almost touching the ground. He had long wanted to run away, but without the emperor's orders he didn't dare leave. Hearing this, it was as if he had been granted amnesty. He quickly ran out of the hall, his heart almost jumping out of his chest. Mo Chuan reached out and carried Chen Ning in his arms, walking into the bedroom with large steps. Chen Ning blinked. You're not going to the royal study tonight? Mo Chuan nodded and said, I will stay here and keep you company. He gently placed her on the bed and pulled the quilt over her body. Seeing that she was staring at him without blinking, with a questioning look in her eyes, he couldn't help but smile and say, Don't worry and sleep, I won't disturb you. I'll stay here and read some military books. He took out a military book from his sleeve and began to read it. Mo Chuan, do you think Chu Xiaoyang will really join South Yu and rebel? Chen Ning held her chin and asked Mo Chuan. Chapter 1566. But. Chen Ning bit her lips. There was something she had kept in her heart for a long time, but she couldn't hold it in anymore and said it. I always feel that although Chu Xiaoyang has hatred in his heart, he hates you and he hates me. He wants to take back everything that belongs to him, but his heart should still have this country. He is not the kind of person who would betray his country for personal gain. Mo Chuan, I'm not saying this to help him, rather I don't believe he would do this. You won't be angry, right? Mo Chuan rubbed her hair and gave a faint smile. Silly girl, when have I ever been angry with you? For you to say this, his love for you has not been in vain. He paused and then said, Actually what you said is reasonable, but you still don't understand his personality. He is the kind of person who would disregard everything to achieve his goal. You just said that he wants to take back everything that belongs to him, but in West Chu he does not have any military power or military strength. It is like a fool's dream for him to obtain all of this. The only way he can achieve his goal is to borrow soldiers. But who can he borrow soldiers from? Northern Qi has just expressed their goodwill to our West Chu, so they would not send troops to attack our West Chu for a king that has lost his power. That East Qin kidnapped the previous emperor and tortured him, so Chu Xiaoyang hates the East Qin people to the bone. He would never go to East Qin to borrow soldiers. That South Yu has always been eyeing our West Chu, but they do not dare to attack us. Once Chu Xiaoyang defected to South Yu and gave them the 5 linked crossbow blueprints, it would be like a gold ingot falling from the heavens onto South Yu's head. How could they not tightly hold on to it? So I can guarantee that the South Yu will happily borrow soldiers from Chu Xiaoyang and have him bring the elite soldiers of the South Yu to attack our West Chu. For the South Yu, this is only good for them. If I'm not wrong, this war is imminent and cannot be avoided. Chen Ning listened to his analysis and finally gave a sigh. She was silent for a long time. After a while she said, "Once the South Yu soldiers, there will be no more peace. The poor commoners' days of peace and contentment will soon come to an end. Who knows how many soldiers will die on the battlefield and how many families will be torn apart. If I knew it would be like this, I wouldn't have been merciful to Chu Xiaoyang in the beginning." She angrily slammed the bed. "All right, we'll talk about this later. Just obediently close your eyes and sleep first. If you don't sleep, don't blame me for not letting you sleep." Mo Chuan looked at her with a hidden meaning. All right, I'll sleep. Mo Chuan, don't work too hard." Mo Chuan pulled her head back into the blanket and only revealed her eyes to look at him. "And I know. Go to sleep." He smiled and covered her eyes with his palm. After a while he moved his hand away. He saw her breathing was light and her eyes were closed. She had already entered the land of dreams. The smile on Mo Chuan's smile disappeared. Mo Chuan's face. The Mo Chuan long time Mo. In Ning Qin back he Mo long ago. In reality, he didn't have the slightest confidence in this battle against Nanyue. The matter of Chu Xiaoyang defecting to South Yu had not been spread yet. There were only a few people in the court that knew of this matter. These people were his loyal subjects, but they were all civil officials and did not know how to lead troops into battle. Chapter 1567. He hoped that there would be a day when Chu Xiaoyang could lead the West Chu army to the east and defeat East Qin, saving the previous emperor. But he never would have thought that the Chu Xiaoyang he had spent so much effort to train would one day turn around and bite him. Moreover, this bite was right on his weak spot, making him feel disappointed and hurt. How could he tell Chen Ning about his thoughts? He could only bury it deep in his heart. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and threw out all the distracting thoughts in his mind. There was no use thinking about it now. It was better to take this time to study the military strategy and use it to defend against the enemy. He picked up the military strategy book and calmed his heart down before carefully reading it. Suddenly, his ears moved and he heard a rustling sound coming from the yard. It was like someone was tiptoeing in this direction. Who was it? Not sleeping in the middle of the night, what were they doing here? It was clear they had bad intentions. Mo Chuan knit his brows and stood up. He jumped in front of the window and gently pushed open the window a little to look outside. He saw the bright moonlight shining down on the yard, just like flowing mercury. The moonlight was very beautiful. Under this extremely beautiful moonlight, there was an extremely beautiful young girl. She had a head of black hair that was like crow feathers, and her snow-white feet were bare. She tiptoed as if her feet were not touching the ground. She was like a moonlight fairy that had descended to the mortal world, and anyone who saw her would feel as if their breath would be snatched away. Her back was facing the moonlight and her appearance could not be seen clearly, but it was still enough to shock people with her beauty. Mo Chuan's first reaction was he seeing things? He composed himself, and when he looked over again, the beautiful girl was already slowly approaching. She had a snow-white and delicate face and a pair of captivating eyes. The corners of her eyes were slightly raised, and there was an indescribable charm, just like the eyes of a fox. Could she be a fox spirit? Xiao Xi's words suddenly flashed in Mo Chuan's mind. So she was the chef that looked like a fox spirit. He had the same thought as Chen Ning in his mind. This kind of beauty, she could do anything, but why did she have to be a chef? Following this, a doubt appeared in his mind. Why did his mother send this kind of beauty to the Guan Osprey Palace? What was her intention? This beautiful girl Chen Qian was naturally the appearance of the thousand-faced young master in women's clothing. The Zhaorong princess was covered in bumps from being bitten by the bugs and the pain was hard to bear. She placed all of this hatred on Chen Ning's head. When she returned to the palace, she told her father about sending the red-clothed young master into the palace. She gritted her teeth and said that she was going to use this red-clothed beauty to steal the emperor's cousin's heart, making Chen Ning lose his favor and be banished to the cold palace. Naturally, she would not reveal the true identity of the young master in red as an assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion. She just made up a random excuse, saying that she had accidentally saved the young master in red. In order to repay her for saving her life, the young master was obedient to her. Duke Ning had seen countless peerless beauties in his life, but after seeing the thousand-faced young master in female attire, he was so shocked that he couldn't move his eyes away. Chapter 1568. He suppressed his disgust, raised his eyes, and gave Duke Ning a flirtatious look. This one glance made Duke Ning's bones go soft. Zhao Rongjunju saw her father's dumbfounded expression and couldn't help but laugh proudly. "Father, what do you think of your daughter's plan?" Duke Ning heard his daughter's laughter and came back to his senses. However, he still stared unblinkingly at Qianqian. The thousand-faced young master blushed slightly and lowered his head, pretending to be shy. He was like a budding flower that was about to speak and was even more touching. Very good, very good. Daughter, I couldn't tell that you found such a beauty. With such a beauty, your plan will definitely succeed." Duke Ning stroked his beard and smiled. Zhao Rongjuanju's eyes lit up. "Then father, quickly send her into the palace. When cousin the emperor sees Qianqian, he will immediately be enchanted by her. As long as he is enchanted by Qianqian, he will naturally dump that little b*tch. I already can't wait to see how that little b*tch will look after she loses favor and is banished to the cold palace." Duke Ning was even more astute. He knew that if he rashly sent such a fairy-like beauty into the palace, in the eyes of others, it would be seen as Sima Zhao's evil intentions. He wouldn't be so stupid as to leave behind the excuse that he had enchanted the emperor's heart. As for such a stunning beauty, of course he would send her into the palace. However, how to send her, and how to send her so that others wouldn't be able to see his intentions, would require some thought. He thought for a moment and looked at Qianqian asking, "What do you know?" The thousand-faced young master's eyes widened, not understanding what he meant. His eyes were already very good. With this slight opening, his gaze was even more captivating. Duke Ning was shocked once again. He hurriedly averted his gaze. His old heart thumped wildly in his chest for a while before it slowly calmed down. He was even more happy. This girl called Qianqian was a beauty rarely seen in 10,000 years. He had lived for so long and almost couldn't control himself when he saw her. The emperor was young and full of vigor. How could he not be tempted by such a beauty? "Do you know how to play the guqin? Dance? Sing? Paint? Write poems? Lyrics? What? You don't know anything?" Duke Ning calmed himself down and asked the thousand-faced young master again, who knew that the girl called Qianqian would shake her head the moment he asked. Duke Ning's face immediately revealed a look of disappointment. This young lady was actually a good-for-nothing idiot. Although the emperor was young, he was knowledgeable and talented. He would definitely not only like a pretty flower vase. How long would he be able to satisfy others with his beauty? If she wanted to capture a man's heart for a long time, she couldn't just rely on her incomparably beautiful appearance. "Zharong, why doesn't she know anything? Do you think that your cousin the emperor would like such a pretty vase?" Duke Ning flicked his sleeve and instantly lost interest in Qianqian. He unhappily scolded Zhao Rongjunju. Chapter 1569. Which man in this world doesn't fall head over heels for him? When he showed up just now, even you, father, were stunned. Don't think that I didn't see it. Zhao Rongjunju said without thinking. Cough, cough, cough. Duke Ning's old face blushed again and revealed an embarrassed expression. He quickly coughed a few times to cover it up. He thought about it carefully. His daughter's words were somewhat reasonable. With just one look at Lady Qianqian's bewitching eyes, how many men wouldn't be blinded by lust? As the saying goes, beauty is a feast for the eyes. Just looking at her beautiful face was enough. Who would have the mind to think if this beauty could play the guqin, sing, or recite poems? But he always needed a reason to send her into the palace to hide his true intentions. Qianqian, you don't know any of the talents of these noble ladies. Then do you have any other specialties? As a woman, you can't not know anything, right? Didn't your mother teach you anything? State Duke Ning didn't give up and asked again. Who said I don't know anything? I know how to kill people. The people I've killed are more than the rice you've eaten. But he couldn't say this no matter what. Thousand-faced young master pondered for a moment and realized that other than killing people, he had a skill. That was his culinary skills. This was because the pavilion master of the Purple Cloud Pavilion loved delicious food. As the young master of the Purple Cloud Pavilion, he naturally had to think of ways to gain the pavilion master's favor. Thus, he racked his brains to study recipes. After so many years, it allowed him to practice superb culinary skills. The dishes he made were fragrant, and even the picky pavilion master of the Purple Cloud Pavilion was full of praises. Thousand-faced young master thought of this and made a gesture of cooking. What is the meaning of this? Duke Ning didn't understand and frowned. If you have something to say, say it. What are you gesturing for? Zhao Rong Junju hurriedly said, Father, Chanshan can't speak. He's a mute. Mute? Duke Ning was shocked. He glared at Chanshan and instantly lost his temper. He scolded, Nonsense. Zhao Rong, you are becoming more and more ridiculous. You actually want your father to send a mute into the palace, and you even want to share the favor of your cousin, the emperor. Aren't you making trouble? Zhao Rong Junju pouted. Your daughter isn't messing around. So what if Chanshan is a mute? But his eyes can speak. Father, if you don't believe me, then look at his eyes. If cousin emperor saw them, wouldn't he be enchanted by them? Duke Ning's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but look at Chanshan's eyes. At first glance, he only felt that her eyes were watery, charming and bright, and she seemed to want to say something. Not bad. She really had a pair of eyes that could speak. A smile appeared on Duke Ning's face as he asked pleasantly, What did you mean by that gesture? The thousand-faced young master made a stir-frying gesture, and then made a gesture of stuffing food into his mouth. This time Duke Ning and Princess Zhao Rong understood. Father, he said he knows how to cook. Zhao Rong Princess shouted. Tea. Duke Ning pondered for a moment and nodded his head slightly. Not bad, this is a good skill. It's 100 times better than the ability to recite poems. Daughter, did father ever say a word to you? Zhao Rong Junju said coquettishly, Father has said too much. How can I remember every word? Chapter 1570. The Zhao Rong princess happily said, Father, you mean you agree to send Chanshan into the palace? Duke Ning stroked his beard and said with a smile, That's right. Moreover, father has thought of a perfect method. He did not wait for Zhao Rong to ask and had the thousand-faced young master cook a few dishes. After tasting it, he was filled with praise, so he immediately sent people to send the thousand-faced young master to the Peaceful Life Palace. He only said that the Duke Ning Palace had obtained a new chef that was specially sent to the Empress Dowager. The Zhao Rong princess was filled with dissatisfaction as she kept asking Duke Ning, Father, didn't you want to send Chanshan to the Emperor's cousin? Why are you sending her to the Empress Dowager? If you give her to the Empress Dowager, the Emperor's cousin won't be able to see Chanshan. Silly girl, do you think the Empress Dowager is as stupid as you? If father gives Chanshan to her, the Empress Dowager will naturally understand father's meaning. She doesn't like Chen Ning, so if she sees Chanshan, what do you think she will do? Will she let Chanshan cook in her Peaceful Life Palace for the rest of her life and be a chef for the rest of her life? You can be assured she definitely won't let down Chanshan's beauty. If father directly gives Chanshan to the Emperor, it will only cause the Emperor to regret and be suspicious. He will be suspicious of Chanshan, and no matter how beautiful Chanshan is, he won't be able to get close to her. But if the Empress Dowager bestowed a chef to him, he would not be on guard. When he accidentally saw that this exquisite chef was actually a fairy-like beauty, he would definitely be smitten by Chanshan's beauty. No matter how beautiful the fresh flowers are, they can't compare to the wild flowers on the side of the road. Men, they all have the same mentality. Duke Dingwa smiled faintly and stopped there. The Zhao Rong princess was stunned and said in a happy voice, Father, you're the most thoughtful. The father and daughter's plan was naturally told to the thousand-faced young master, but the thousand-faced young master also agreed. He entered the Peaceful Life Palace and showed a bit of his skills, obtaining Empress Dowager Zhou's praise. Empress Dowager Zhou followed Duke Ding's expectations and quickly sent him to the Guanyu Palace on the same day. The thousand-faced young master had not expected things to progress more smoothly than he had imagined. He had successfully entered the imperial palace as a woman and arrived at the side of the enemy he had a deep-seated hatred for. Furthermore, he was living in the same courtyard and under the same roof as her. The room Xiao Ru arranged for him was next to her room, only separated by a wall. What the thousand-faced young master did not expect was that when he was dressed as a man, Xiao Ru, who was afraid of him like a snake or scorpion, would like him dressed as a woman. When she looked at him, her eyes were like little stars, as if she wanted to dig out her heart and treat him well. He really was a fool. The thousand-faced young master looked down on Xiao Ru in his heart while enjoying Xiao Ru's care. Xiao Ru ran around for him, personally helping him decorate the room, laying out the bedding, and even giving him the royal clothes that Chen Ning had given her. Xiao Ru was not willing to wear these fine clothes, but now she generously gave them all to the thousand-faced young master. It was a pity that her good intentions had been fed to a dog, and it was a heartless large wolf dog. The thousand-faced young master laid in the soft and fragrant bed Xiao Ru had prepared for him, but his heart was thinking about how to carry out his plan. Chapter 1571. He was full of worries as he tossed and turned on the bed. How could he sleep peacefully? Since he couldn't sleep, he might as well go out for a walk and take a look around. Speaking of which, this wasn't the first time he had come to Guan Osprey Palace. The last time he came, he had gone on a killing spree and killed everyone in the palace. There was only one fish that escaped, and that was that idiot called Xiao Ru. Of course, he had intentionally let that idiot called Xiao Ru escape. If he really wanted her life, let alone one Xiao Ru, even 10 Xiao Ru wouldn't be able to survive. But at the time, he didn't want Xiao Ru to die. Xiao Ru was also one of the people who had caused him to be hung naked in front of the city gates. She had even taken off his socks and stuffed them in his mouth, almost suffocating him to death. If he didn't take revenge for this, how could he bear to let Xiao Ru die so easily? The thousand-faced young master quietly got up. He knew that ever since he had accidentally exposed himself last time, the suspicious and cautious emperor had started to send more people and hidden guards to protect Guan Osprey Palace. Even if a fly flew in from the outside, it would be silently taken care of by the hidden guards. However, they could never have imagined that a living person like him would be able to openly enter Guan Osprey Palace under everyone's eyes. Although he had entered the palace, he still didn't dare to be careless because there were countless eyes staring at him from the shadows. As long as he made the slightest mistake, he would lose his life. He had a head of black hair that reached the ground draped over his shoulders. He was barefooted and wore a gauzy long dress as he walked step by step out of the room and into the courtyard that was covered in clear radiance. Even if he was seen by others, he wasn't afraid at all. He could just say that he had just arrived and couldn't sleep well, so he wanted to come out for a walk to get some fresh air. This way no one would suspect anything. There was a pond in the courtyard. The pond water was as clear as a mirror, reflecting the bright moon in the sky. It also clearly reflected his figure, which was like a moonlight fairy. Even he couldn't help being attracted by his figure in the water. He walked over to the pond step by step and stood by the water, silently looking at his reflection. His long misty hair was gently swayed by the night wind, and a few strands of it brushed past his snow-white and charming face, adding a bit of charm to him. His pair of soul-stirring eyes were immersed in the mist, appearing even more blurred. So beautiful. He couldn't help stroking his hair as he looked at himself in a daze, letting out a soft sigh in his heart. He never knew that he would be this beautiful when he was disguised as a girl. He didn't know how his appearance would compare to the woman he hated to the bone. Looking at his reflection in the water, Chen Ning's appearance appeared in his mind and he began to secretly compare. He was like a red spider lily by the water, enchanting and charming, tempting people's hearts. Chen Ning was like a lotus in the water, slender and elegant, unreachable. As long as it was a man, he would definitely fall in love with her at first sight. A beautiful rose was always more eye-catching, wasn't it? The thousand-faced young master looked at himself and gave a satisfied smile. When he smiled, the beautiful girl in the water also smiled. That smile was peerless and hard to describe. Chapter 1572. He did not know when, but beside his reflection in the water, there was suddenly a man's figure. That man was wearing a black robe and had a very handsome face. His thin lips were slightly pursed and he had a dignified expression as he coldly looked at his reflection in the water. "Who are you?" That handsome man that was like a god from the ninth heaven opened his thin lips and spoke in a cold voice. His voice was very clear and it was as pleasant as a piece of jade. The thousand-faced young master couldn't help shivering as he felt a chill run down his back. He opened his mouth and wanted to say, "I am Chan Chan," but he suddenly realized that he was pretending to be mute. At the same time he recognized who this black-robed man behind him was. He was Mo Chuan, the young and handsome emperor of the West Chu country. He was also one of the targets he needed to deal with in the palace. What he needed to do was seduce him. The thousand-faced young master was pleasantly surprised. He never thought that he would meet his target so easily. He thought that he would have to wait a few more days, but now the chance had come unexpectedly. Under the moonlight, the fairy-like girl was reflected in the water. Her black hair and snow-white face, especially those eyes that were wide open because of shock, there was not a single part of her that wasn't beautiful. There was no man in this world that wouldn't be moved when they saw this scene. The thousand-faced young master was very confident. He used his watery eyes to look at Mo Chuan, but his feet were silently moving in the direction of the pond without leaving a trace. Suddenly he stepped on empty air. His beautiful eyes revealed a look of panic as he looked at Mo Chuan for help. The snow-white robe on his body fluttered in the wind and he fell into the pond with a beautiful posture. Facing a beauty who lost her footing, there was no man who wouldn't reach out to save her. The thousand-faced young master's calculations were very good. He closed his eyes and waited for the young emperor to embrace him in the next moment. His plan was already half successful. Of course he would not throw himself into his arms so easily. He wanted to reject him, first giving him a shy and timid look, then pretending to be shocked and pushing him away. Then he would run away and deliberately leave behind a handkerchief. Men, they wouldn't cherish things that are obtained too easily. Only when they can't eat it will they never forget it. He was very confident. But in the next moment, the fake panic in his eyes became real panic. He found that the young emperor was standing where he was, a pair of bottomless black eyes looking at him like an ancient well without any ripples. However, the emperor's hands were behind his back and he did not move at all. He just watched as he fell into the pond. Impossible. How could it be like this? There must be a problem somewhere. It was impossible for him to not reach out to save a beauty like this. The thousand-faced young master was alarmed and furious. Before he could figure out why, he felt a chill under his body. With a splash, he fell into the pool, creating a huge splash. He knew how to swim, but he pretended that he didn't know how to swim at all. He struggled in the water, sometimes sinking and sometimes rising. A pair of snow-white jade-like arms stretched out of the water, matched with that pear-blossom dewy face. Her eyes were filled with tears as she pitifully looked at the indifferent man on the shore. Why was he just standing there without moving? Could it be that he saw something? That was that. Chapter 1573. Gudong. He wanted to open his mouth to call for help, but the ice-cold water entered his mouth. He had no choice but to drink a large gulp and the tears in his eyes flowed down, falling down his cheeks like crystal drops of dew. He did not believe that the young emperor would stand by when he saw that he was about to drown. He began to drink large gulps of water and slowly stopped struggling. His beautiful immortal-like figure slowly sank to the bottom of the pond, but his beautiful eyes were wide open the entire time, looking at the man on the shore without blinking. What happened? What happened? It seems like a stone fell into the pond. The eunuchs and maids who heard the commotion woke up from their dreams and ran out to take a look. What they saw was the scene of the thousand-faced young master slowly sinking into the pond. It was very beautiful. It's Miss Chan. Xiao Si quickly rushed over and saw the thousand-faced young master with a single glance. He let out a cry of surprise. Save her, quickly save her. What are you all standing there for? Mo Chuan's black-clothed figure was hidden in the shadows. The people rushing over did not notice his existence at all. All of the palace servants came to their senses and jumped into the pond like dumplings to save people. Xiao Si also jumped in without hesitation. This girl that was as beautiful as a fairy, he couldn't let her drown like this no matter what. He only had one thought in his mind, which was to look around the pond with wide-open eyes. The pond was dark in the night and he reached out to grab something. Suddenly he caught a smooth and delicate arm and grabbed it, bringing him to the surface. The thousand-faced young master drank a stomach full of water. As long as Xiao Si jumped in, he would have turned from a fake water ghost to a real water immortal. He lay on the shore and leaned against Xiao Si's body. He began to spit out the water in his stomach, cursing that Mo Chuan who didn't save him 7,000-8,000 times in his heart. Bastard. Damn. That blind man. No, he wasn't a man at all. Because there was not a single man in this world that would remain indifferent to a beauty falling into the water. There was only that monster called Mo Chuan. Miss Chan, are you feeling better? Xiao Si patted his back, helping him spit out the water. He asked with a bit of worry, feeling a bit of fear when he thought of the scene just now. If Chan really drowned and this matter reached the Empress Dowager's ears, it would be another storm. The Empress Dowager would think that the Empress couldn't tolerate this fox-like beauty, so she purposely caused her death. There were too many things like this happening in the palace, it was not strange at all. But Xiao Si believed that the Empress would not do such a thing. The thousand-faced young master finally spat out all the water he had drunk with great difficulty. He felt weak all over as if he had a serious illness. He leaned on Xiao Si's shoulder and weakly nodded. His weak and delicate appearance made everyone present feel a sense of pity. The eunuchs all looked at Xiao Si with envy and jealousy, wishing they could be in a different place from Xiaoxi and have this enchanting beauty lean on them. Good, he has been saved and there is nothing. There is nothing. Chapter 1574. The maids and eunuchs all left. The thousand-faced young master couldn't help secretly looking at where Mo Chuan had been standing, and his eyes instantly popped open in shock. Gone. The emperor that did nothing to save him had actually disappeared. He was so angry that he almost crushed his teeth. He had spent so much effort to put on this show, but it was actually a blind man lighting a lamp. A waste of effort. I'll send you to Xiao Ru's room and have any effect at all. Bath for you. Miss Chan Chan, drive away the cold and you won't get sick. Tell me, how did you fall into the pond? Xiao Si thought about it and then supported Chan Chan to Xiao Ru's room. Xiao Si asked with a serious expression. This girl called thousand-faced young master was absent-minded and didn't hear what Xiao Si said at all. There were so many eyes watching both inside and outside the palace. He just randomly shook his head. The palace. No one pushed you. If anything happened to her, the Empress Dowager would blame this on the Guan Osprey Palace in your room. The Empress Dowager didn't like the Empress to begin with. Xiao Si's voice became even more serious. She used this to make things difficult for the Empress. He was not courteous just because the other party was a peerless beauty. On the contrary, he only felt that this beauty called Chan Chan made him feel a special sense of crisis, especially when she fell into the water. Her whole body was drenched like a lively mermaid. Xiao Si couldn't help secretly rejoicing. It was a good thing that the Emperor was sleeping with the Empress and didn't see this charming mermaid. The thousand-faced young master looked up and his watery eyes filled with tears as he looked at Xiao Si. His eyes were filled with grievance. He raised his orchid-like finger and pointed at the moon in the sky and then pointed at the clear mirror like water. Your meaning is that the moon is too beautiful and you can't sleep, so you came to the pond to admire the moon and accidentally fell into the water? Xiao Si's heart skipped a beat when he looked at him. He actually understood what he meant. Chan Chan nodded again and reached out to touch her wet hair. That action of touching her hair made Xiao Si's heart beat faster. Xiao Si quickly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He held Chan Chan's shoulder and said, "I'll send you back. It's not good for people to see you like this." Chan Chan nodded and looked down, hiding the disappointment in her eyes. His act was all for nothing. That man called Mo Chuan did not take the bait. Instead, he ended up drinking a bellyful of ice-cold pond water. Achoo! Being blown by the wind, he couldn't help letting out a large sneeze. Be careful of catching a cold. Xiao Si hesitated a bit, but he still took off his outer clothes and placed it on the thousand-faced young master. The thousand-faced young master looked at Xiao Si with gratitude. Humph, what use was this little eunuch fawning over him? He didn't want to catch a small shrimp like him, but rather he wanted to catch his master's big fish. You fell into the water and your entire body is wet. If you go back to your room like this, you will definitely catch a cold. Chapter 1575. When Chen Chen heard that he wanted to take a bath, he couldn't help being shocked. He forcefully shook his head and stood still, not willing to go with Xiao Si no matter what. If he took off his clothes he would be exposed, so he couldn't take a bath no matter what. He was afraid that Xiao Si would be suspicious, so he made a few random gestures. His meaning was that it was already so late and he shouldn't bother Xiao Ru. Xiao Si actually understood and shook his head in disapproval. "Miss Chen Chen, you're thinking too much. That girl Xiao Ru really likes you, so she won't mind. Not to mention you're both girls, so there's nothing to be embarrassed about letting her take a bath for you. It's inconvenient for us eunuchs, but if Miss Chen Chen doesn't mind, this Xiao Si is also willing to help Miss bathe." The thousand-faced young master's face instantly turned red. He glared at Xiao Si in embarrassment and anger. This little eunuch was actually trying to take advantage of him. Damn, he wouldn't have fallen for him, right? Humph, once this young master finishes his wish, the first thing I'll do is dig out your stinky brat's eyes. Xiao Si gave a laugh. Seeing that Chen Chen no longer objected, he walked in front of Xiao Ru's door and forcefully knocked on it. "Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru." He called out several times before Xiao Ru's sleepy voice came from inside. "What is it? Is the young miss calling me?" She had always slept like a log, not even hearing the loud noise outside. Only when Xiao Si forcefully knocked on the door did she wake up. She opened the door with a head of messy hair and saw Chen Chen, who looked like a drowned rat. She was instantly shocked. "Chen Chen, you. What happened to you? Why are you soaking wet? Is it raining? But why didn't I hear the sound of thunder?" After she asked this, she didn't hear Chen Chen's reply. She patted her forehead and remembered. Look at me, I actually forgot that you can't talk. Xiaoxi, what happened to Qian Qian? Did you bully her? She finally saw Xiaoxi on the side. Xiaoxi angrily rolled his eyes at her. What rain and thunder, are you a pig? Sleeping like a log, you don't even know what happened. What kind of servant are you? You dare call me a pig? Xiaoru unhappily curled her lips. Alright, I was just joking. You're Xiaoru, how could I dare scold you? Just now, Qian Qian couldn't sleep. She got up in the middle of the night to look at the moon and accidentally fell into the pond. I'm worried that she will catch a cold when she goes back to her room. Why don't you prepare some hot water for her to take a bath to drive away the cold? Xiaoxi pushed Qian in front of Xiaoru. Xiaoru quickly grabbed Qian Qian's hand and revealed a distressed look. Qian Qian, how could you be so careless? You fell into the water while looking at the moon, it's a good thing you're fine. Look at your hand, it's so cold. Quickly come in, I'll pour some hot water for you. Qian Qian's care, as not. Xiao Qian said, Ian Qian Qian Zhao's care. Ian Qian Qian T. Xiao Qian's matter, T Qian Qian I said to her. CZ, T. Qian Qian, wait here for a bit, I'll go pour some hot water for you. That's right, change my clothes first. Do you want me to help you take them off? Xiaoru enthusiastically asked. Chapter 1576. Then wait a bit, I'll go water it. It'll be done soon. Xiaoru quickly ran out. The thousand-faced young master grabbed the front of his clothes. Looking at Xiaoru's leaving figure, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really couldn't handle Xiaoru's enthusiasm. Didn't this girl tremble like a mouse that had seen a cat when she saw him? Why was it that when he changed his clothes, this little girl was this enthusiastic towards him? It was like a dog skin plaster, he couldn't get rid of her no matter what. He suddenly felt that something was wrong, it was very wrong. Why was it that when he dressed up as a woman, it wasn't the target he wanted to attract, but rather a woman? That emperor called Mo Chuan clearly saw him, but he just watched him fall into the water and did nothing to save him. On the contrary, his empress was very kind to him as if she liked him very much. There was also this girl called Xiaoru, she had two large like written on her face. What was wrong with this world? The thousand-faced young master was sitting there wondering when Xiaoru came back. Qian Qian, the water is ready and I've prepared all the things you need to bathe. Quickly go bathe in the next room, I'll help you over. Qian Qian wanted to refuse, but she suddenly remembered that she was pretending to be mute. She quickly shook her head and gave a thankful gesture. Are you embarrassed? We're both girls, what is there to be embarrassed about? I can even help you wash your hair in a bit. Yet Chen, your hair is really good, it's so thick and dense. Xiaoru opened her mouth and began chattering like a sparrow. The thousand-faced young master wished he could stuff her mouth with a piece of cloth. He was afraid that Xiaoru would keep talking, so he quickly raised his hand and made a few gestures. Xiaoru tried to guess. You're saying? You're hungry and you want to eat something? The thousand-faced young master quickly nodded. Alright, then I'll go get something for you to eat. Chen, what do you want to eat? He drew a circle and then stretched out 2 fingers. 2 steamed buns. Xiaoru guessed. He quickly shook his head and drew another circle. 2 steamed buns. He forcefully nodded. Alright, then I'll go see if there are any steamed buns in the kitchen. You can go bathe first, I'll be back soon. Xiaoru was very happy to do things for him, so she happily left. The thousand-faced young master finally heaved a sigh of relief. He walked to the washroom at the side, closed the doors and windows, and took off his soaked thin muslin clothes. Looking at the 2 large white steamed buns that had been soaked in water, he grabbed them and threw them out of the window. He sat in the bathtub filled with hot water and let out a comfortable sigh before closing his eyes. Although he had a bad start today and was unable to lure the young emperor into the water to save him, no one had seen through his flaws, so he could continue to stay. As for revenge, he was not in a hurry. There was still a lot of time. He had plenty of time to play with them. The future was still long. Chen, I'm bathe bit? The thousand-faced young master sat in the bathtub with his eyes closed, completely forgetting how much time had passed. When he heard Xiaoru knocking on the door, he was shocked. This is bad, that stupid girl is here again. He knit his brows and stood up. He grabbed the clean clothes that Xiaoru had prepared for him and wrapped them around his body. He walked out of the bathtub and opened the door to the bathroom. Chapter 1577. Chen, I found the 2 biggest steamed buns for you. Here they're for you. The thousand-faced young master looked at the 2 steamed buns that were bigger than his fist and the corner of his mouth twitched. He wanted steamed buns, but weren't these steamed buns a bit too big? But it was better than nothing. He reached out to take them and smiled at Xiaoru. Then he closed the door with a peng sound, shutting Xiaoru outside. What's wrong with Chen? Why is her smile so strange? Also, why do I feel like she's different from before? Xiaoru scratched her head in puzzlement as she revealed a puzzled look. After a while, the thousand-faced young master opened the door. His chest was like 2 small hills, making his waist look even more slender. Only the steamed buns that Xiaoru chose for him were too big, making him feel very uncomfortable. Chen, you're out. Where are the steamed buns? Did you eat them all? Xiaoru looked at Chen's empty hands and her eyes opened wide in shock. Wasn't the speed at which she ate the steamed buns a bit too fast? The thousand-faced young master nodded and gave her a thank you gesture. Xiaoru couldn't help looking at her with sympathy. Chen, you must be very hungry. I never thought that you would make such delicious food, but you're still hungry. Next time you cook, you can secretly eat a bit and no one will find out. Are you full from these 2 steamed buns? If you're not full, I'll bring you 2 more. The thousand-faced young master's lips twitched again and he quickly shook his head. He gave a yawn and pretended like he was going to sleep. You're sleepy? Alright, after this long, it's almost dawn. How about you sleep with me? The 2 of us can talk and you won't fall into the pond because you can't sleep. I forgot, you don't know how to talk. Don't worry, I'll tell you stories. I can tell very good stories. It's all told to me by Xiaoxi. Chen, sleep with me, alright? Xiaoru suddenly blinked her large eyes and looked at him with an expectant expression. This girl that was as stupid as a donkey couldn't have seen through him, right? Why was she always pestering him? She even wanted to sleep on the same bed as him? The thousand-faced young master's heart skipped a beat and he slightly looked down at Xiaoru. He was a head taller than Xiaoru and Xiaoru was very petite in front of him. Her large eyes revealed a pure glow, looking very innocent and pure. She didn't seem like she had seen through his face. Could it be that this lass has really fallen in love with me and that's why she wants to sleep with me? Thousand-faced young master looked at her longing eyes and actually couldn't bear to refuse. Just as he was about to nod, he suddenly remembered his identity. He was a man, so how could he sleep with this little girl? He resolutely shook his head. Xiaoru revealed a disappointed expression. Chen, do you not like me? Do you think I'm stupid and annoying like everyone else? She bit her lips and a layer of tears appeared in her big eyes. Other than the young miss, no one liked her. Zhui Feng hated her and Xiaoxi was no longer friendly to her. He had just called her a pig, and now that there was finally a beautiful woman like a goddess, he was acting like he was 1,000 miles away from her. Was she really this stupid and hateful? She Chen Chen Ti. Chen Chen. Chen QT. The thousand-faced young master followed Xiaoru's gaze and looked at his chest. His face turned red and then green. Isn't it because the steamed buns you gave me are big? He awkwardly looked away and couldn't help holding the 2 steamed buns in front of his chest. It really was too big. It was very heavy and it kept falling down. The emperor hadn't returned to Guan Osprey Palace for 3 days, so the empress probably didn't feel good. She finally had a taste of being alone in an empty room. There were naturally Empress Dowager Zhou's spies in the Guanyu Palace, so any movement would be reported to Empress Dowager Zhou's ears. There. Su's here. Su's Ning Ming's he she of Zhou Empress Ru Jin, she's masters. She's, is this red, s? She's Zhou she's, made emo. She's ems long he's he. Chapter 1580. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold snort and slammed the teacup in her hand onto the table. Humph. This widow doesn't believe it, she is just putting on an act for this widow to see. After Chanshan was sent to the Guanyu Palace, did she make things difficult for Chanshan? Make things difficult? I've never heard of this, only... Su Jin looked at Empress Dowager Zhou, wanting to say something but hesitating. Only what? If you have something to say, then say it. When did you learn to stammer? Empress Dowager Zhou looked at her in displeasure. This servant only heard that on the night Chanshan arrived in the Guanyu Palace, she couldn't sleep and went to the pond to admire the moon. She accidentally fell into the water, but she was quickly saved by someone and is fine. Su Jin knew that she couldn't hide this matter anymore, so it was better for her to report this to Empress Dowager Zhou. Otherwise, it would be bad if someone with ulterior motives added oil to Empress Dowager Zhou's ears. Accidentally fell into the water? There's such a coincidence? Is it that simple? Sure enough, it was as Su Jin expected. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold laugh and her face was filled with disbelief. Su Jin quickly replied, reporting to the Empress Dowager, this servant has heard this news. Miss Chanshan also said this, so it shouldn't be false. Chanshan? What could a weak girl like her know? If someone wants her life, she wouldn't even know who harmed her before she dies. Empress Dowager Zhou forcefully slapped the table. Su Jin looked at Empress Dowager Zhou and carefully said, the Empress Dowager might really be thinking too much. This servant can see that Chanshan is a smart girl and was sent by Duke Ning. She has just entered the palace and hasn't offended anyone, so there shouldn't be anyone who wants to harm her. Hasn't offended anyone? Su Jin, you've been in the palace for several decades. Don't tell me you don't even understand this? Her beauty is her greatest sin, but this widow never thought that after just a day in the palace, there would already be people who don't like her and want her life. Humph, with this widow here, I want to see who dares touch a single hair on her head. Empress Dowager Zhou narrowed her eyes and revealed a sharp glow. When Su Jin received this news, she knew it was bad, so she waited 3 days before reporting it. She never thought that Empress Dowager Zhou would still be filled with anger. Empress Dowager Zhou, this servant is just thinking that even if there is someone who doesn't like Chanshan and wants to make things difficult for her, they wouldn't choose the first day in the palace to do. Wouldn't it be too obvious? When Empress Dowager Zhou heard this, she Dowager Zhou, Empress, Dowager Dowager, you Dowager Li, I said, Dowager, Li and said. Su Jin quickly said, Empress Dowager, Miss Chanshan has been living very well these past 3 days. The Empress is very kind to her and even the maid by the Empress side named Xiaoru likes Miss Chanshan. She was sent by the Empress Dowager so they don't dare neglect her. Is Tian? I think I did, but His Majesty has been busy these past few days and hasn't even returned to Guan Osprey Palace. Chapter 1581. This servant will remember. Su Jin respectfully replied. All right, you can leave. Empress Dowager Zhou waved her hand. When Su Jin was prepared to leave, Empress Dowager Zhou suddenly thought of something and called out to her. Su Jin, do you have any news of Xiao Bai? King Jing'an? Su Jin turned around and shook her head. This servant has not heard of King Jing'an's whereabouts. The emperor said that King Jing'an is wandering the world and has no place to stay. When he is tired of playing, he will naturally come back. Empress Dowager, King Jing'an's martial arts are very high and he is very smart. There won't be any danger. You old lady doesn't need to worry too much. Empress Dowager Zhou held her chest and said with a sigh, "But this widow can't feel assured without any news of Xiao Bai. This widow has watched him grow up, and although he is this widow's grandson, this widow's love for him is not any less than the emperor's. In terms of closeness, he is even closer to this widow than the emperor. Now that he is wandering the world by himself, how can this widow not worry about him? He has been served by people since he was young, how could he endure the hardships of the Jianghu and that kind of suffering? My Xiaobai, just thinking about it makes my heart hurt." Su Jin had been by Empress Dowager Zhou's side for a long time, so how could she not understand Empress Dowager Zhou's feelings for Chu Xiaobai? But now that things had reached this point, she had no other choice and could only advise her. "Empress Dowager, if you keep thinking like this, a few more strands of your hair will turn white. When King Jing'an comes back and his appearance hasn't changed, the Empress Dowager will be so old that you won't even be able to recognize King Jing'an. You little girl, you're actually cursing this widow like this." Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help glaring at Su Jin. "This servant doesn't dare." Su Jin quickly bowed down. All right, this widow knows that you are comforting me. Stand up." Empress Dowager Zhou rubbed her forehead and gave a sigh. "This widow also knows, but my heart is not at ease. Xiaobai has left and Xiaoyang has also left. In the end, it is all because of that main culprit." She was filled with anger as she spoke. This matter was a thorn in her heart that she couldn't resolve no matter what. Su Jin stuck out her tongue and quietly left. After leaving the peaceful life palace, she couldn't help shaking her head and sighing. Actually, this matter had nothing to do with the Empress, but the ancient divine doctor could not resolve the resentment in the Empress Dowager heart. She really didn't know when the Empress would resolve the knot in the Empress heart. Perhaps when the Empress became pregnant one day and gave birth to an imperial grandson, seeing her own grandson, this thorn in Empress Dowager Zhou's heart would unknowingly soften. However, His Majesty had been busy with government affairs these past few days and hadn't even taken half a step into Guan Osprey Palace. When would the Empress get pregnant? Even if she entered Guan Osprey Palace, there was still that beauty called Qianqian. If His Majesty really took a fancy to her and neglected the Empress, what would she do? Su Shi Qin Shi Jin Su Jin Qin Dower Su Jin had been by Empress Dowager Zhou's side for many years, so she understood Empress Dowager Zhou's intentions. Since Empress Dowager Zhou decided to send Qianqian to the Guanyu Palace, she could see that Empress Dowager Zhou was clearly giving the Empress a hard time, expressing her dissatisfaction. "Auntie, please wait a moment. This servant will go and report to my eldest Mississippi. If she hears that you're here, she will definitely be very happy." Xiao Su Ling, please aunt, she said, Xiao. And, to say, Chen, to say. Hearing Xiao Ru's report, Chen Ning quickly put down the medical book in her hand and walked out. Chapter 1583. This servant Su Jin greets the Empress. Su Jin put down the box of food and respectfully bowed down. "Aunt, there's no need to be so polite, let's talk inside." Chen Ning pulled Su Jin's hand and walked into the room, ordering Xiao Ru to bring some refreshments. Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue and shouted, I left the box of food in the small kitchen. Inside are the pastries that Qianqian just made, I'll go get it immediately." She quickly ran out. "Xiao Ru, I've already brought the box of food. It's on the ground outside the door," Su Jin said with a smile. "Ah, many thanks, Aunt Su Jin." Xiao Ru quickly brought the box of food in and placed the pastries on the table. Instantly a sweet fragrance filled the air. Su Jin did not feel hungry at all, but when she smelled the fragrance and saw the exquisite pastries, she suddenly felt hungry. "Aunt, these pastries were made by Qianqian. Have a taste and do you like it?" Chen Ning said with a faint smile. Su Jin was not polite as she picked up a piece of chestnut cake and placed it in her mouth. She felt that it was fragrant and soft, melting in her mouth. After swallowing it, there was still the fragrance of the chestnut in her mouth, leaving behind an endless aftertaste. "This chestnut cake is really good. I never thought that Qianqian would have this kind of skill. Not only is she good at making dishes, she even makes pastries this good. The Empress will have good food in the future," she repeatedly praised. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile without saying anything, but Xiao Ru straightforwardly said, "Aunt Su Jin, you don't know. Although these pastries were made by Miss Qianqian, the recipe was given by my family's young miss. Not only is the chestnut cake delicious, There is also the fungus water chestnut cake that is fragrant and sweet but not greasy. Have a taste. If you don't like sweet things, there is also this crispy scallion cake. It's salty and crispy, very delicious. She placed the pastries in front of Su Jin like they were treasures. Su Jin said in a pleasantly surprised voice, "So the recipe was given by the Empress? No wonder I've never seen these desserts before, let alone eaten them." She didn't stand on ceremony and tasted every dish. She couldn't stop praising them. This chestnut cake and fungus water chestnut cake are fragrant and soft, sweet but not greasy, melting in your mouth. The Empress Dowager will definitely like them. She first thought of Empress Dowager Zhou, so she casually said it. Chen Ning said with a smile, "This is simple. Then let Qian follow Aunt Su Jin to the peaceful palace and make it for the Empress Dowager." Su Jin jumped in fright. She thought that the Empress Dowager had just sent this person over. If she brought him back, the Empress Dowager would definitely blame her. There's no need. I was just casually saying it. Chapter 1584. Aunt will personally ask her when we meet. Chen Ning turned to Xiaoru and said, "Go invite Qian over." Not long later, Qian followed behind Xiaoru. She walked in front of Chen Ning and bowed down. "No need to be so polite. This is Aunt Su Jin. She came to visit you after receiving the Empress Dowager's orders." Qian looked up and gratefully looked at Su Jin. She raised her hand and made a gesture. She said, "Thank you Empress Dowager and thank you Aunt." Chen Ning translated for her. Su Jin said in a surprised voice, "The Empress understands sign language?" Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "I've seen it in a book and unknowingly remembered it. I never thought I would be able to use it here. The Empress is knowledgeable, it really is admirable." Su Jin said in a sincere voice. The more she looked at Chen Ning, the more satisfied she was with her. This Empress was not only beautiful, she was smart, she had a good personality and she knew a lot of things. She would give her a pleasant surprise from time to time. It was a pity that the Empress Dowager was prejudiced against her. She could not see her beautiful side and could not forget her status as the Dingyuan princess. If the Empress Dowager could solve the grudge in her heart one day, she would find that she had a daughter-in-law that everyone would envy. I can see that Qian is living a good life in the Guanyu Palace and the Empress must be treating her very well. After the Empress Dowager finds out, she must be very relieved. This Miss Qian was sent to the palace by Duke Ning, so the Empress Dowager doesn't want her to suffer any grievances. Su Jin vaguely mentioned this. And can be assured. In my eyes, Qian is the same as Xiaoru. I will take care of her like my own little sister and won't let her suffer any grievances. Chen Ning looked at Qian and revealed a faint smile. Of course this servant knows the Empress character, but this servant has heard that Qian fell into the water because of a mistake. Seeing that Qian is fine, this servant can tell the truth to the Empress Dowager. When Qian heard this, she quickly made a few gestures. These gestures were very simple. Even without Chen Ning's translation, Su Jin could understand them. You're saying that when you looked at the moon that night and accidentally fell into the pond, it had nothing to do with anyone else? Qian nodded. He was very clear on Su Jin's intentions, it was just Empress Dowager Zhou supporting him and using this chance to suppress Chen Ning. However, he did not plan on doing as Empress Dowager Zhou wanted. Chen Ning was his prey and he wanted to slowly play with her. If he let someone else do it, he would lose the fun of torturing his prey. Qian, this is your first time in Guan Osprey Palace, so you have to follow the rules of the palace in the future. Going to the pond to look at the moon in the middle of the night is already a violation of the palace rules. It's a good thing you're fine. If something had really happened to you, the Empress Dowager would definitely investigate. Wouldn't you be letting the Empress take the blame for you? Qian hurriedly knelt on the ground and made a terrified expression. At the same time, she pointed to her heart and swore that she would never do it again. Qian kneeled on the ground with a. Qian stood up and bowed to Chen Ning before slowly leaving the room. Standing outside the door, he rubbed his knees, feeling indescribably suffocated. To think that he was the dignified thousand-faced young master, the young master of the Purple Cloud Pavilion. In the Purple Cloud Pavilion, hundreds responded to his call. Everyone who saw him, who wouldn't respectfully bow down to him. Chapter 1585. Chen, why are you so unhappy? Is it because Aunt Sujin scolded you? Xiao Ru followed behind him and also left, leaving Ning and Sujin talking in the room. She saw the thousand-faced young master's gloomy face, and without knowing why, she felt that this expression was a bit familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen it before. The thousand-faced young master suddenly remembered that this was the palace and not the Purple Heaven Pavilion, so he couldn't act arrogantly. He didn't have any martial arts now and was just a normal person. In this palace, anyone could bully him, so he had to be submissive. He couldn't even offend this Xiao Ru that he looked down on. What was so good about the palace? There were rules everywhere. Thinking about those women that wanted to marry into the palace, they were all extremely stupid, including the Zhaorong princess. He had only stayed in the palace for 3 days, but he already felt like each day was like a year. If it wasn't for fulfilling his wish, he would have already given up. Chen, don't be unhappy. Actually, Aunt Sujin is a very good person. She said those words to you for your own good. If something happened to you, the Empress Dowager would be worried. In the future, don't go to the pond to look at the moon in the middle of the night. If you can't sleep, I can sleep with you. Xiao Ru warmly comforted him. The corner of the thousand-faced young master's mouth twitched. He glanced at her and recalled how she had been sticking to him like a dog skin plaster for the past few days. That mouth of hers had been chattering non-stop, causing his ears to almost grow grass. What if he asked her to sleep with him? Just thinking about it made him feel terrified. Are you cold? Why are you shivering? Xiao Ru asked in a concerned voice. The thousand-faced young master shook his head. He pointed at the guest room in the back courtyard and then ran away. Chen, are you going to go to the palace? My stomach is also a bit painful, let's go together. Xiao Ru followed after. The thousand-faced young master's face turned green. His hand was being pulled by Xiao Ru, so he couldn't shake her off or let her pull him. At this time he really regretted pretending to be mute. Now he couldn't say anything. Su Jin didn't stay in the Guanyu Palace for too long before returning to the Peaceful Life Palace to report to Empress Dowager Zhou. Empress Dowager Zhou had an absent-minded look and cut her off before she could finish. Su Jin, send someone to the Emperor's place to have a look. Ai Jia always feels alarmed as if something bad is going to happen. You don't have to go personally in the future, just tell our people to pay more attention. Whether she is well or not, Ai Jia doesn't care. Ai Jia is only worried about the Emperor. Yes, Empress Dowager. Su Jin quickly sent a clever little eunuch to inquire. Not long after, Ning sent Su Jin into the palace. Your Highness, the Emperor is in the imperial study. He has an urgent matter to discuss. Empress? Ning knit her brows and immediately stood up. All right, I'll go right away. Ning said, Su Ling Jin I Ru, Ning Jin I Ning Shi, you, sirs, why are you standing outside the door? She asked in surprise. The ministers looked awkward and lowered their heads in silence. Xiao Si said in a low voice, His Majesty is furious inside and chased them all out. Chapter 1586. Ning nodded and gently knocked on the door. Then she pushed the door open and closed it behind her. Ning, come in. Mo Chuan could already hear her voice from outside. She saw Mo Chuan standing in front of the imperial table with his hands on the table, looking at the large map. He looked up and his eyes sparkled as he looked at her, but there was no anger on his face. What happened? Xiao Si said that you flew into a rage and kicked out all the ministers? She walked closer and asked in a curious voice. Mo Chuan gave an sound and said, I don't like listening to their clichés, none of them have any use. What happened? But did Chu Xiaoyang really rebel? Ning's eyes fell onto the map and she saw Mo Chuan draw a large cross on the southern pass. Mo Chuan nodded and raised his brows as he said, If my guess isn't wrong, Chu Xiaoyang really led the South Yu army to the southern pass in Shuanglu. Before the people I sent to warn them even reached the southern pass, they received news that the southern pass had been lost. Ning was shocked. Although Mo Chuan had said this before, she did not dare believe that Chu Xiaoyang would really betray his country for glory. Chu Xiaoyang really betrayed his country? She asked in a voice filled with disbelief. Not only did he betray his country, he also captured the southern pass and is eyeing Shuanglu. If the southern pass is lost, Shuanglu will be in danger. If Shuanglu is lost, my West Chu's gates will be open to the South Yu army. So, no matter what, I have to defend Shuanglu. Mo Chuan heavily slapped the table. Has this matter already been spread to the court? Ning asked, thinking of the ministers that Mo Chuan had kicked out. That's right. This morning I received a secret report sent from 800 miles away. The secret report said that Chu Xiaoyang had led his army to attack West Chu and they were unstoppable. The reinforcements I sent to the southern pass had not even arrived, but they had already captured the southern pass. It could be said that they had won easily. I have already given the order for all the reinforcements to retreat to Shuanglu. We have to defend Shuanglu no matter what. We can't let Shuanglu fall into the hands of Chu Xiaoyang's South Yu army. Mo Chuan said this and forcefully slapped the table again. His face revealed an angry look. Everyone knows about this matter. I asked in court who was willing to lead the army. Do you know what the ministers said? They also said that Chu Xiaoyang was the previous emperor's son, so even if he betrayed the country, it was still acceptable. As long as I was willing to ask him for peace and give him the title of king, perhaps he would withdraw his troops. They also said that South Yu was strong and our West Chu soldiers were few, so if we fought, it would be a disaster for West Chu. It would be better to send a letter of surrender when the war had just started. Perhaps we would have a chance of survival. These cowards only know how to cling to life and fear death. What use do I have for them? I've heard that this second prince is a brave and talented general, but as long as I have you by my side to help me strategize, as well as the 2 military books you personally wrote, so what if we lose in the beginning? As long as we don't panic and fight a few more battles, the one standing at the end will be the final victor. Chen Ning said with a smile. You're still saying that there are no generals in the court? Aren't you a general yourself? Not panicking even if we lose, this is the style of a general. You haven't thought about winning and you've already calculated that we will lose, but as long as our soldiers can stop the South Yu army, it will be a large blow to the South Yu army's morale. There is a saying in the art of war. The first spurt of energy, the second is weak and the third is exhausted. As long as they can't take down Shuanglu, the soldiers' courage will drop to a very low point and our army's courage will soar. In a narrow path, the courageous will win, so breaking the South Yu army won't be a difficult matter. Chapter 1588. Ning, who says you don't understand the art of war? Not only did you memorize the art of war, you even said these words very well. Mo Chuan raised his brows and praised. I just memorized a few sentences from a book. How could I understand the art of war? If I really understood the art of war, would you send me to the front lines? Her eyes looked at him without blinking. Mo Chuan couldn't help patting the back of her head and said with a smile, why do you always want to go to the front lines to fight? Do you want to be an awe-inspiring general? Alright, I promise you. Really? Her eyes lit up. Really, but not now. I'm still not familiar with the art of war and Chu Xiaoyang has the brave Southern Yu second prince to help him. I'm afraid we'll lose a few battles in the beginning, but as long as we don't fall into chaos, we'll have a chance to make a comeback. So we'll let others fight the first few battles and when the Southern Yu army is exhausted, I'll send you. You'll go into battle at that time and be an unprecedented female general, completely defeating them. Then you'll personally capture Chu Xiaoyang and drive the Southern Yu army out of our West Chu, alright? Chen Ning revealed a faint smile. Alright, I also like winning battles and don't like being defeated by others. Then we'll have a deal? A gentleman's promise is more important than 9 cauldrons. Since I've promised you, naturally I won't go back on it. Mo Chuan said with a smile. Alright, then I'll go back to the palace first and wait for your good news. Mo Chuan nodded. He reached out his arms and pulled her into his embrace. He gently kissed her face and his voice became gentle. Ning, it's good that you're by my side making my courage increase. You don't know how grateful I am to the heavens for letting me meet you. His eyes looking at her were filled with tenderness. Chen Ning's heart felt warm and it was like she had eaten honey. She stood on her tiptoes and gently kissed Mo Chuan, but it was on his lips. Her lips were soft and her sweet fragrance filled his nose. Mo Chuan's heart skipped a beat and he wanted to hug her for a deep kiss, but she slipped out of his embrace like a little fish. Mo Chuan, my feelings for me are the same, but we have a lot of time in the future. He nodded and suppressed the excitement in his heart. The war had already begun and now was not the time to be sentimental. We'll receive news from the front lines in the next few days, so I'll stay here and won't return to the Guanyu Palace. You have to take care of yourself, do you understand? She heard his childlike voice and couldn't help laughing as she said, Mo Chuan, I'm not a 3-year-old child, I can take care of myself. As for you, don't forget to eat because you're busy with the war. You have to know that you are the West Chu great general now, so you need to eat your fill to command the army. Also, not only do we need to guard against wolves, we also need to guard against tigers. Mo Chuan nodded again. I understand your meaning. I'm also worried that East Qin will take advantage of this news, so I've already sent horses to send this news to your father, Great General Chen. As long as Great General Chen is here, the border will not be broken. I can relax half of my heart and focus on dealing with the South Yu Kingdom. Chapter 1589. Relax, before long I will give you the chance to be the great general. Now, obediently return to the palace for me. Mo Chuan's face turned serious and he pushed her out the door without saying a word. Xiao Si saw that Chen Ning had also been kicked out by Mo Chuan and his face turned white. He said in a worried voice, "This is bad, this is bad. Even the Empress has been kicked out by the Emperor. It seems like the Emperor is still angry. What should we do? We can't have this servant go to the Peaceful Life Palace to invite the Empress Dowager over, right? If the Empress Dowager knew of this matter, she would immediately faint. This servant does not have the courage to report this to the Empress Dowager. That's right, the Empress Dowager just sent someone to inquire about this matter. This servant managed to muddle through with great difficulty, but I'm afraid I won't be able to hide it for long." Chen Ning was a bit surprised. The Empress Dowager also sent someone? Could it be that she heard some rumors? Xiao Si shook his head and said, "This servant doesn't know. Empress, you said that the Emperor is still angry and he won't even eat. What should we do?" Chen Ning said, "Just send the food in. He will naturally eat when he's hungry. Also, go and pass on the Emperor's orders, have all the ministers disperse and return to their homes to find their mothers. The Emperor will be angry whenever he sees them. As for the Empress Dowager, hide it for as long as you can. Although paper can't hide the fire, letting the Empress Dowager know about it later is better." After she said this, it was like Xiao Si had eaten a tranquilizer. He replied, "Yes, this servant will do it now. Also, Xiao Si, the Emperor will be very tired these days. You have to take good care of his body, do you understand?" Chen Ning stopped him and warned him. Xiao Si forcefully nodded. "Empress, please be assured this is this servant's duty. I will definitely take good care of the Emperor. If the Emperor doesn't eat, this servant will report to you. As long as you come, the Emperor will not have any worries." Chen Ning said with a faint smile, "All right, you can go." She turned around and entered the sedan waiting outside, returning to the Guanyu Palace. Southern Pass City. On the high city walls, the West Chu flag had already been burned to ashes and the one flying in the air was the South Yu country's war flag. There was a fierce and lifelike tiger embroidered on the flag with golden thread. There were 2 pairs of wings on the side that were fluttering in the wind. The tiger was baring its fangs and claws just like it was alive. The South Yu country respected tigers, so a tiger with wings was an auspicious sign. Chu Xiaoyang was standing under this flag, slightly looking up at the South Yu country's flag fluttering in the wind. The flag was being blown by the wind and his face was filled with uncertainty. He wore a pure white battle armor that wasn't tainted by even a speck of dust, and he wore a jade crown on his head, causing his jet black hair to seem even darker and his face to seem even more snow white. His back was ramrod straight, and he was like a god of war that descended from the heavens while emanating an awe-inspiring might. Around him were groups of South Yu soldiers holding spears. They all looked at Chu Xiaoyang with gazes of worship and awe, not looking down on him because he was a West Chu king. In just a few short days they had personally witnessed the might of this West Chu king. No one dared to disobey or contradict his orders at all because on the first day Chu Xiaoyang came to the army, he had already established his military might. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.